the seagulls. Follow the shore. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you.
And as we say now in my country, they brought the bus and they left the bus in front of the goal.
And the guy's talking absolute nonsense. Never heard so much rubbish in my life.
Normal men.
What do you mean, normal men?
We're just innocent men.
I'm telling you, don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is Friday night, and you know what that means. It is Bustalgia time, it is time travelling time, and as you can see, folks, we've got a winning panel tonight for jumping all over the place. We're not going to any set time, we're going to be here, there, and everywhere, because tonight, to get you in the mood for the sixth derby between Celtic and Rangers this season, yes, just the six of them, yeah, we're going to be going back and talking about our favourite goals against the old enemy. The old version and the new version of them, whatever version, all the same, really, in terms of different shit, same flies, I guess would be the best way to describe it when it comes to that one. But yes, we'll be talking about that tonight in great depth. We've got 10 goals each. It has been a tough mission to do, but we've managed to whittle it down, so we'll be going through them tonight. So, guys, let's go around the table, get the introductions in. Russell, I know last night you were saying you were struggling with it. Have you got your 10, mate? Have you done it?
You got 10 together, Phil. I don't even know if they are my absolute favourite 10. I think it's hard to whittle it down to that. What I will say, though, is, you know, if anyone's not seen, there's a YouTube video with all of Celtic's goals from 1980 onwards. I mean, it was just bliss. And I've got to say, watching it, honestly, the most satisfaction I got were the goals in the 90s.
All right, okay.
Goals in the 90s, the most satisfaction, because it was that underdog feeling. I don't know, there was something about those goals meant more, because you almost were like, fucking hell, we've got a chance, you know what I mean? And I watched it back, it was class. I'm in the best mood in the world.
Oh, superb, mate. Glad to hear it. And here's somebody else who's in a good mood, because everyone in the chat, guess what? It is Liam's birthday today. So we give him a happy birthday message. But yeah, Canada's favourite Tim has joined us on his birthday to talk about goals against Rangers. What a guy. Welcome back aboard, Liam. How are you doing today, mate?
Brilliant, Phil. Brilliant. It was great voice. I was looking at those films as well. Just fantastic. I found that the only way I could get 10 together is if I sort of create different sections. Like, I've got a section for Thunder Batters. We've had a few of those. You've got moments, game changers, stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to hearing what everybody else has got and getting wired in tonight.
It should be good stuff. And I say I'll be putting a list together as we go because there's going to be a point system to this as well. Because I've just got to make it complicated as possible, haven't I? But yeah, there will be a point system as we're going. Not usually you worry about. I'll be keeping the points tally. Don't worry about that. And at the end, we'll see what the definitive top 5 is between us. We'll find out. And Jonathan, you were pulled on last night. You were told by your brother that you're coming on. He would put you in the spot. But here you are, mate. Have you managed to get your 10 at such short notice, mate?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this was easy peasy, Phil. I don't know what they're talking about. I already had it pretty much in my head the moment that phone went. He knows when he's in a jam, he knows to phone his little brother to get him out of a jam, and that's exactly what he has went and done this time. Mine, I went for goals of significance tonight, Phil, because unlike tomorrow, you know, it's a game of a lot of insignificance from Celtic's point of view.
Give an opener, Jonathan. Give us a wee opening.
Yeah. Oh, that's all. That's all I've got. That's all I've got for you tonight. But it's a game of insignificance tomorrow, so I've decided to pick goals of significance, just to remind us of the ones that matter.
Good stuff. The criteria tonight.
It's a good angle.
Yeah, that's fair enough, man. Because the criteria doesn't need to all be, you know, long distance pingers right in the top corner. It can be a goal of significance, a goal that just means something to you personally, whatever. You know, it's a subjective list. It's not objective. And of course, I would like everyone in the comments at times to chip in some of their favourite goals. You know, they probably agree with. Probably a few that we'll say tonight that you will agree with. But yeah, get them in there. Of course, do everything else in terms of that good stuff. Obviously, get involved in the comments, share the link on the Boise Bus Twitter account. You know, you can go on there at Boise Bus. You can get the word of the new Twitter account out there far and wide. Share the link of tonight's show. Obviously, you can comment and subscribe as well. In terms of if you're a new viewer to the bus, hit that subscribe button. You will not regret it. And of course, we'll go over the sponsors as well. So tonight, as you know, we have a new sponsor that you've seen this week. We've got ED Pharmacy. So tonight's one that I prepared, Russell. You'll like this one. Do not be a Ryan Christie, who's inconsistent with up and down performances. Be a Callum McGregor, who is consistent, reliable, and most of all, he gets the job done. So yes, be a Callum McGregor. Head over to edpharmacy.co.uk. Plus 10 for your discount code there. And of course, piesports.com. Head over there and use bus 1888 to get 12.5% off on that one. So yes, with all that out of the way, guys. Tonight, how we're going to do this, first half of the show, we'll do number 10 to number 6. And second half of the show, we'll do 5 to 1. And we'll just go round. There's no trivia tonight. I'm saving that for Tuesday, or Tuesday ticket.
You might only need one more. You might only need one more, Phil.
Well, we'll save it for Tuesday. We'll see what happens there. There's no any trivia quiz. We're just going to get into it. Just going to get you ready. You can prepare for that one on Tuesday. But yeah, let's just get fired in. So Russell, we'll come to you first. We'll just go for you 10 through. So you wish to start us off, mate, with your number 10 goal.
Yes, Phil, I will. I've stupidly closed the wee notes thing that I typed it all up on, so 2 seconds, mate. Right, okay. Number 10 is an interesting one because to make the top 10, you would think the goal might be a bit better than this.
Mm-hmm.
But to kick us off, I'm going to go for a goal of significance that Jonathan was talking about. Yeah, I'm going to go for a goal that made me feel mental at the time because off the field, in terms of myself, a lot of shit was going down at the time.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of shit was going down. On the field, the most crazy display was ever put in by Celtic where they were getting murdered the whole game. And then the ball from the free kick goes forward. Chris Julian casually strays offside and slots it in at the bottom corner. We win 1-0 and Chris Julian has made my top 10 because we watched that together, Jonathan. That was the infamous living room incident at Mum's house.
The Fraser Forster Cup final. You forget Julian even scores in it. How's Julian making this list?
I know, but it's so valid because I think Mum actually thought the whole Boise bus was in the living room that day. It was only even Jonathan, do you know what I mean? Because it was a reaction. I'll never forget in the living room, the celebrations then. The disbelief that, how the fuck are we winning this 1-0? What is actually going on here? And of course, it led to a trophy as well. And I felt like that goal was one of those goals where it was a leveler for me for the 90s. That was what we watched in reverse. It was the first time I ever had watched Celtic get, pummeled effectively the whole game. The better team lost, and for once it wasn't Celtic being the better team. And I felt that's what I experienced growing up, and I was like, have a bit of that. So Chris Julian is he's my curveball, but he can open and kick it off.
I like it.
And Tattoo Face, I think, has been buying memberships again. I think there's loads of thanks going on. So Tattoo, you are the man. Tattoo Face Tantrums are regular on the Boise bus. I think you're making people's day. I think 1888 CFC is extremely happy. So, but Chris Julian kicks us off.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's one that again was in amongst my 19 shot list, but it didn't make my final 10. But again, I'm going for significance.
It was
in my 19, it didn't make it in my 10. But it's a good shout because again, significance and just that moment. I mean, I was there in the stadium for it, and it was loud, even though it was a 50-50 split in that stadium. Jesus, it was intense when that goal went in. Phenomenal moment. But yeah, and obviously a landmark moment, our 10th trophy in a row at that point as well. And that run they wound up winning 12 trophies in the bounce, but that was the 10th one. Cup final against Rangers. Can't go much better than that. Now, what about yourself, Liam? What about you for number 10, mate?
Well, I categorised some of mine. So, see you advertising boner pills earlier. So, who needs boner pills when you got Thunder Bastards? So, I tend to say that I think we've set, and I'm starting. Daddy Lambo, Paul Lambert's goal at Ibrox. It must have been 40 yards. It's just an
Celtic Park, you mean?
Scream.
Celtic Park.
Was it? Aye. Sorry. Somehow I thought it was Ibrox, but absolute screamer. Brilliant. I'm starting with that one. That was like just
a bang.
It was dominance. You could just see that we hadn't scored many goals like that against him in a long time, and I was like starting to. We're going to start putting pressure on you here. So you could feel something was shifting. So that's my number 10.
That's in my list as well, I've got to say.
It's in my list as well, but it's a lot higher up. It's a lot higher up.
So it's a good shout. It's a game again, significant because a huge season that one, stopping the old 10. That was a massive game in the timeline of that season because I think if we'd lost that game, or at least didn't win, I think we were sitting 4 points behind going into it. So it was crucial that we won that game on that day. And after Bowley put us ahead, Jesus, man, what a finish for Lambert with just a couple of minutes to go. Pings it in off the crossbar as well. It hits the post on the way in, but it's a phenomenal goal. And Jono, what about you? You're number 10, mate.
I have went down a similar route as Liam and also picked a Thunder Bastard to start us off, but it's in a totally different game. I'm going to take us back to 2004-05, O'Neill's last season, first game of that season. I think it was probably the first derby then without Henrik Larsson playing for us. It looked like it was going to be a drab affair and peter out to a 0-0, and then the ball breaks to a certain Mr. Alan Thompson, who already had previous in this fixture a few times of scoring big, important goals, who then absolutely lashes one in off the underside of the bar, sends Celtic Park into delirium as Celtic go on to win the game 1-0. Now, the reason it's not higher up the list, because I think it's a great bit of technique on the goal, is because of the fact, in the grand scheme of things, that season it didn't count for very much because of where the league trophy ended up. Yeah. But for that game, it did get us the 3 points, and it's one that I think lives long in the memory, and certainly for me, it's Tomo's best goal in the fixture.
Oh, it's a good one. It's a very good one. It might be on my list. It might be on a couple of other guys. It's definitely on my list, but yeah, just a little bit higher for me in that one. But Tomo's goal is... That's a ridiculous. I just remember Mark Hateley's commentary line of what was a great defensive header by Alan Hutton. He headed it right to Alan Thompson, who took a touch and then pinged it right in the top corner. So yeah, great defensive header by Alan Hutton indeed. He set him up nicely there. Great layoff for him. But yeah, that goal was phenomenal. It was a drab game. You were right. It was a very, very drab game. It was 0-0 about the 87th minute, and then Tomo just decided, this isn't ending 0-0. Not today. Not today. Just lashed it in. Funny enough, the goal that I've got at number 10 is from the same season, but it's not in the same mould as that Alan Thompson one. In the grand scheme of things, it's quite annoying that this goal wasn't more significant than what it could have been, because we did all the hard work and then we threw it away on Helicopter Sunday, sadly. But I've went for number 10, bit of technique in this one, a chance for us to see a player a really good player at full pelt here. Craig Bellamy's goal at Ibrox.
Very close to taking that. Very close to taking that.
We break from a corner, I believe, and it's just a long ball up to Bellamy, right perfectly into his path. Doesn't he break his stride? And he's left one-on-one with, I believe, Sotirios Kyriakos, who keeps backing off, and you don't know where he's going because he's running at full pelt. And it's that wee drop of the shoulder, cuts inside on his right foot, just bends it into the far corner. So the only annoying thing about it is, and why it's probably not higher, it's just the significance of it. It should have resulted in us going on and winning the league that season. That showed what Craig Bellamy was all about. He had an amazing hat-trick at Tannadice, and then to score the winner that day at Ibrox, what turned out to be the winner. It's a great goal, great technique. And he also went and celebrated right in front of the Copeland Road end, which they took very, very well, of course, as usual. But yeah, that for me, that was a phenomenal goal. Great counter-attack goal, and you get to see Bellamy at his absolute best there on the big occasion. Now, Russell, did I hear you amongst that say that was your number 9 by any chance?
Number 9 is Craig Bellamy, Ibrox. Yeah. Absolutely. It's a bit of sweet. That's why it's not higher up, because that goal really should have been it should have been the decisive goal in that title race. Really, that's how we thought we've fucking done it now. Do you know what I mean? That was the goal. So it was such an important goal at the time. Carried a lot of weight to it, and then for it all to be undone at the seams come the end of the season review, it makes it a bit bittersweet. But doing it on their ground, showing his quality, and he was one of those folk, they absolutely hated for the second day he put on a Celtic shirt. You know what I mean? They just wanted to hate him, and I think he thrived in that. So he would have loved scoring at their ground. There was a lot to that. And as you rightfully say, technique-wise and all that, out of this world.
Drop of the shoulder just sends Kyriakos for a hot dog, man. Just that, he's totally lost. Just that one wee subtle move, and that was
bends so nicely in the far corner as well. Yeah. See when the ball the beautiful finish the net, it's so nice. A brilliant finish.
Oh, superb. What about you, Liam? What's your number 9, mate?
Well, my number 9 now, I had one Jono. I had for 10, Alan Thompson. Absolute that just beat Kloss underside of the bar.
Go for some top quality goals early on. I'm interested to see what's at the top of your list.
I was looking at.
I'm telling you, it's going to be Greg Taylor.
Greg Taylor.
In the 3-0 game, that one against McGregor, where he just jumps out of nowhere. It's like I'm watching the game on the telly. You can even see where he came from on the screen, and there was no Rangers players anywhere near him. And that just look at dejection and everything in their entire team. That was the third goal with the 3-0 game, just before half time, and it absolutely crushed them. So if I'm looking for good goals against Rangers, I like goals like that, where goals like that will still give them the fear. They don't know where he came from, and they still don't know how he got that space or how he found it so quick. And so I put Lyle Bada up there with the top.
Bada? I thought you said you had Thompson as your number 9.
But then I jumped onto my number 8.
You've done number 8. Okay, that's fine. Now I'll put your number 8 then. No bother.
You still paying that Wi-Fi bill, Liam? Bill.
Liam's travelled into the future for the old time travel.
You paid your broadband bill, son?
Me?
Connections all over the place, mate.
So is it the Abada one from the 3-0 game when we beat them under the lights in 2022, or the 4-0 game earlier in this season?
Under the lights.
Under the lights. I got you. I know the one. Yep. I know.
He just left alone in front of McGregor and just squares it to the side. Brilliant.
No, that's no problem. I'll stick that one in the now. No, that's fair dues. Right, so we know you're number 8 then, so that's absolutely fine. So, Jonathan, you're number 9 we need now.
And number 9 is actually interesting because it's actually from the same game as Liam's number 8. I've also gone for a goal in that 3-0 game. And this is all about significance rather than it being anything that is overly spectacular. But I'm going to go for Rio Hatate's first goal in that game. And the reason that was going in is because it was coming up for, it must have been about almost 2 years, I think, since we last beaten that mob. Before that game, the momentum was all beginning to switch towards Jan Postecoglou. It was really beginning to feel like something could be happening in a season where I think the way it started, Celtic weren't really expecting to be going anywhere close to winning the league title after losing our first 3 away games. and then to have managed to claw it back and have the opportunity to go top in that game, given the fact we hadn't beaten Rangers in so long, and Atati gets us off to the absolute perfect start. And I think it's at that moment there is when any Celtic fans that were on the fence as to whether the league title could come back to Celtic Park in Postecoglou's first season, people began to start believing, and it set up one of the most incredible nights I think I've ever seen at Celtic Park against Rangers.
It was. Was there no Rangers player that was down for ages, injured in the celebrations of that goal?
There was, aye.
There was a bit of fear in my head that, oh God, they're going to disallow this somehow. This is before VAR even came in. But it was just, what was it, an accidental knock? There was one player collided
with themselves.
Aye.
They collided with each other, aye.
But just that cynical mind.
It was head to shoulder, I remember that.
Aye.
And they were claiming that, they should have stopped play, but they ran into each other.
They did.
Doing this us.
No, fuck no.
Definitely not, man. So we were on fire that night, and just blew them away. As you regularly say, it's the goal that sort of turned the tide that season. They got us, made us believe that we can go on and win this now. The man number 9 is from an absolute slobber knocker of a game from 2018. It was at Ibrox. There was 2 goals that I was thinking about from this game. I was like, again, try whittle it down, but I went for this one on the basis of one, it injured a Rangers player in the build up to it, and also the celebration because he just ran by the Colburn Road then, just basically like that. You can't hear you now. Of course, it's the guy who scored in every game against them that season, and this is the best goal out of the lot of them. It's Tom Rogic after we had an absolutely disastrous start to the game. Something that happens quite a lot when they come out of traps flying, and we were just all over the shop. It was Josh Windass scored after about 90 seconds because Dedrick Boyata completely froze and gave him the ball. But yeah, Tom Rogic takes the game by the scruff of the neck about 10 minutes in and just bends at the top corner. Use a FIFA term. It was a finesse shot. He held in the L1 button as he bent that one into the top corner, and he broke a Rangers player's ankle in the process just for the banter, really. But yeah, that one, for me, that's Rogic's best goal against them because he scored plenty against them. But for me, that one is phenomenal. And I say there's another goal from that game that nearly made my top 10, but obviously it was close run. But that Rogic one made it in. Love that goal, love the technique. Always appreciate a bit of curve into the net, into the top corner, and that one was just majestic.
We're under the caution at that point as well.
We were.
Under the caution that game.
I'll be amazed if everyone doesn't have at least one goal from that game in it, because I think there's 3 very good goals that are scored in that game that are all a bit different. And Rogic's just missed out on my list, to be fair. It was one I slithered with and was trying to find a way to put it in, and I just couldn't quite manage to squeeze him in. Tom Rogic, which was unfortunate because, as you say, there is the double delight of not only the goal but also the hilarious after fact that he breaks. Was it Bates' ankle?
David Bates. I always get him and Ross McCrory mixed up. I believe it's David Bates.
Yes, I think it was. Yes, so it started off what would turn out to be a very memorable day that day, and as I say, I'll be surprised if that's the last we are talking about that one tonight.
Oh yeah, definitely. What about yourself, Russell? You're number 8.
Number 8, we dive back to the 90s, a bit like my daft hairdo, and it is Lubo's curler in the opener of the 5-1. The guy that no one had heard of, remember? Yeah. And I think even as a Celtic fans, like, what are we? Who's this? What's going on here? And it's just again very much like the Japanese contingent that joined, even the same when Ange joined himself, because they're not, household names. You instantly are going, oh. Roll the eyes. The optics didn't look good. A 33-year-old signed from not one of France's biggest sides for 300 grand. It's like, really? Is this going to take us on to the next level? People have been asking who Joseph Vengos was for the last 3 months. Now they're asking who Lubomir Moravcik is. He gets shifted up front that day for the first time he played up front for Celtic. And it's a beautiful step over, if you remember, by Henrik. Simon Donnelly passes it. Henrik just does this amazing dummy. And then Lubo, I want to say on his weaker foot, he didn't have a weak foot. Martin O'Neill was on TalkSport today, literally educating Simon Jordan on Lubomir Moravcik is the best 2-footed player he's ever seen. Now, bear in mind, Martin O'Neill won 2 European Cups. So he's played with some pretty decent players and managed some fantastic players. He says the best 2-footed player. He says the problem that he has with Lubo was that he wasn't and he should have been regarded as world class at the time in that spell at Celtic. He was genuinely world class, and I think that what a way to announce your arrival. That curler into the corner, it was just, and there was something magical about watching it back as well. You know, that almost, because the fans go fucking insane, right? But he's almost got that start.
I was going to say that. It's the celebration that actually gets me every time I watch it. It's just like, I know what I'm supposed to do. I was like, I thought I was supposed to score this. I mean, what is everyone going on about? This is what I do.
And there's almost a bit of him going as well, get used to it. Get used to this, by the way. Do you know what I mean? Because, you'll see a few of these over the years. But just a brilliant goal, a 5-1 win against them, unheard of, bear in mind. That hadn't happened in my lifetime, that sort of a scudding. And, we can talk about scalping being the norm now. You don't know how lucky you are if you're in a generation where all you know is Celtic dominance like that. That was a freak result that day, in my mind at the time. Was like, what the heck is going on here? If you remember, it wasn't on the TV.
3 o'clock on a Saturday, the last time it's ever happened. Yeah.
And I was, don't laugh, I was playing rugby, right? Honestly, I think they just sent me out. I think my dad just wanted me to get battered, do you know what I mean? And I had to do do you remember you could do reverse call? So I was like, I'd spent all my money in the tuck shop, do you know what I mean? But I would, this is how savvy I was at 8, 9 years old. I knew you could do a wee code in the payphone and just reverse charge it to them. So I just reverse charged, said, come pick me up. I had to bought all my cola bottles, you know what I mean? I was like, no way, man. I'm not using 20 pence on the phone. No way. That's my sweet money. He said, have you reverse called that? I'm like, sorry. Because remember, it used to be an operator who would go transferring the reverse call over, so they had to accept it or reject it. You know, it must be that wee bastard. But the best bit is, rather than keeping an eye on the settings, Dad's like, right, I will come and get you. Never mind that. You do not know what's happened today. And it's not like you could check your phone then, Phil. And I'm like, what is it? It was like 5-1 we beat them today. And I just remember it being, what? What are you talking about? And staying up for sports scene that night and stuff was just a total buzz. And it's like, it was that sort of, feeling at the time, like, who is this guy, this Lubo? And that strike with the left foot is an absolute, it gets better every time you watch it. Yep. It's just so good. And it's two players, fair dues to Simon Donnelly with the cutback, but Larsson's step over, just knowing that he's already teeing himself up in the background there, big Lubo, curls at left foot into the corner, and just a brilliant goal. And the reaction is, as I say, not just for Lubo, but the fans go absolutely wild. It was brilliant.
Oh, it was a great goal and a great day. It's a real freak in terms of not just the score, but the last time we played at 3 o'clock on a Saturday against Rangers, not on the TV, strange one. I still don't know to this day what the reason behind that was. Nobody seems to know, because this is when Sky were covering games and even STV Scotland would pick up some. Strange. Very weird how they did that.
You stayed up and it was Rob McLean commentating.
Yeah, it is. If you go and find the footage, Rob McLean. I had to listen to the radio that day. I remember all the radio. So it was a 5-1. Just we were saying
that would be even more intense, Phil, listening to that on the radio.
You can't see it all sounds
anything worse. Because they all just sound about 10 times worse listening to anything on the radio ever. Always sounds 10 times worse. It
really does. And another thing, Phil, we were so far behind at that point in the season. We were 10 points behind. Had we lost, we would have been 13 points. So it was like crazy that we went out and beat them. That Rangers team under Advocaat with all the money they spent. 5-1 by Owen Ravchik. He could feature again tonight, no doubt about it. He's got a few decent goals against him along the way. Liam, we've got your number 8 already, so we'll go to Jonathan and get his number 8 so that we can even it up again and we're on the same point. So, Jonathan, you're number 8.
I'm going to go for a bit more of a different game again. I'm going to go back to the mid-noughties. I'm going to take us back to a cold November night at Celtic Park in 2005. En route to a League Cup win. And I think it's something that might have often been forgotten, this one, but it's an absolute gem. I think it's probably the furthest back I think I've seen a Celtic player score against Rangers, and I know a lot of people are going to say Stefan Klos was perhaps out of position, but take nothing away from the man who hits this. Sean Maloney has an absolute scalper from about 40-odd yards that goes laced into the top corner. I don't think I've ever seen a shot quite like it. I mean, I remember at the time being like, why on earth are you even taking that on? There's fucking no chance. That's fucking Stefan Clausen goals. He doesn't even concede goals from there. And it just flew into the top corner. Absolute pandemonium. Again, significant because Celtic would go on to win that game 2-0. They would also go on to win the League Cup that season. And Sean Maloney gets the first goal in that game. And I was, as I say, probably the furthest back, I think, any of the Thunder Bastards that Liam uses that have been scored. I think Sean Maloney's is right up there, probably at the top of the list if we're just looking at Thunder Bastard goals. It's incredible.
Oh, it was. The thing is, though, for the frees in this one, if you feel the same about me with that goal, does not feel like it goes in slow motion when you watch it.
Just get the words out of my mouth. You've just literally took the
because he doesn't put his laces through it per se. He sort of still side foots it.
It's weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
Slow motion was the exact term I had in my head, Phil.
Yeah,
slow motion was exactly what I was thinking.
But you must have all been thinking as well. Why is he even taking the shot on? It's like unbelievable.
Yep. My exact thought when he was lining it up and he left his foot, and it was like, you had a split second to think, why has he done that? But yeah, it did travels right in the top corner. But I say when you look at it back again and again, the goal doesn't seem to get any faster. There's some goals that I've watched again and again that feels like it does get quicker every time you watch it. But that one, it just seems to sail into the top corner. It's an amazing strike. The technique is phenomenal in it. And yeah, it's very easily forgotten, Jonathan, because it's a midweek League Cup game. It can be easily forgotten about that one. But yeah, it was some goal, mate. And again, I don't think it's the last time it'll be featured tonight.
I hope boys don't. That shirt was far too big for poor wee Maloney. Do you know what I mean? It's like when you used to play growing up and it would just be like one size fits all. I'd be like, really, mate? Do you know what I mean? Like,
it always was really swimming on Sean Maloney. He could never get a shirt that fit pretty well in the Nike era. It was always massive. Remember he came on and made
I can relate to his problems, to be fair. I think me and Russell can relate to his problems a wee bit. I don't know if they had the right sizing back then for those sorts of tops for Sean Maloney. Wee Sean was always up against, and he always looked like a wee boy considering they're the strikers. Apart from Larson, you big Sutton and Hearts, and he's often playing with it. Just like he looked like up against proper men. Aye.
We want excess, Nike. We want excess.
I was like, Sutton just like done a bring your son to work sort of day. Some of the time it looked like it was like, oh my god, what's going on?
Oh, it's always no, you're totally right. It was. He always just looked eternally young. What's his secret? Sean, what's your secret there, son? Because he always does look that way. But that goal, though, ridiculous. And Stefan Kloss just saying about being out of position. He had a shocker of a night that night. I think the second goal, Bobo Baldi heads it under his legs for the second goal or something like that. So I think he had a particularly bad night that night. Not that we're complaining. Yeah. Always good to see a Rangers goalie have a bad day. So my next one has got a bit of commentary attached to it, sort of it's been immortalised because Ian Crocker of Sky gets a bit of a bad rep from. I
like Ian Crocker.
Either side of the divide. I don't think he's a guy that can win. You've got Rangers fans who say, "Oh, he's a Celtic fan," and Celtic fans saying he's Rangers. I think he just totally.
No, I like him. I think he's been very good.
Every so often he's got a sound bite that comes along that just lives you forevermore. And this one is from a game at Ibrox, 2008. It's McManus, Samaras, McDonald, can he shake off Broadfoot? Yes, he can. And he volleys it right in the top corner. That line is always stuck in my head. The Scott McDonald volley where, Kirk Broadfoot tries to close him down, gets a bit too touch tight, he turns him, and on the volley, in one sweeping motion with his right foot, right in the top corner, bang, 1-0, we go on and win the game. But a bit like Craig Belling.
I thought it was going to be a better commentary line than that, Phil, to be honest.
I know, so did that. I thought it was going to be Vinegar or Hessling.
Oh, that one's etched in my mind at all.
Can you shake off Kirk Broadfoot? Yes,
that's because it sounds absurd. Can you shake off Kirk Broadfoot? Yes, he can, but it's always an absurd line. But
you need to go back and watch it, Russell. We're missing something here. We need to go back and watch that.
But the goal itself is phenomenal. The way he has it on the turn. There's one sweep in motion. And again, like the Craig Bellamy goal that I mentioned earlier on, it's like, it's so bittersweet because we did the hard work. We went there, we got ourselves 7-point gap at the top of the table, brilliant goal to win it. And then we ended up losing the league, and it was a pure anticlimax this season. But what a goal it was by McDonald, who's popped up with a few goals against them, but without a doubt, that's the best one out of it. But yeah, that just some reason that line just etched in my head all the time, just like the absurdity of it. It just, it just gets stuck in my head. But the goal is
I hope he doesn't say that tomorrow.
Oh,
you imagine
not.
Rio Atati shits off Connor Goldson. Yes, he can.
That's why it's just ridiculous. It's a ridiculous line. It's just stuck in my head. So, but yeah, the goal itself, as I say, the image of it, phenomenal. And it's all in one sweeping motion, which for me makes it better. Just how he does it. So Scott McDonald is my number 8.
Not a goal you would expect Scott McDonald to be scoring, though. In fairness, I would not have been expecting him when he gets the ball in like that. It's not the type of goal he was normally accustomed to. He's more used to sort of 5-6 yard tap-ins, and it was something that did, I think, catch people by surprise, and maybe that's why Crocker has been caught a little bit by surprise when he shouted, yes, he can, because he's obviously not expecting him to do it either by the sounds of it. So
I think somewhere right now, Ian Crocker's going, fucking hell, I thought I was better than that. Do you know what I mean? Really? Is that the most memorable commentary line?
Oh no, the very good Headslink one's the most memorable. That one's incredible.
Don't keep taking Phil. You've blown it, mate.
Yeah, you've blown it. Unless any good Headsling's coming in further on your list, you're in trouble here. With Crocker.
7? You went at 7?
We're at number 7 now, yes indeed.
Okay. I went for a Dembele goal, and he was always going to feature in the 10. And I knew no one else would go for this one. But I think this epitomises the banter years. I think Dembele understood the banter years. He understood how to rub the salt in the wounds, as Jonathan likes to talk about. A Panenka penalty against
I knew you'd pick that. I knew you'd pick that.
It's so up my street, that's why. It's absolutely up my street. The arrogance to do that at the National Stadium. I think that was a guy in complete tune with what the narrative was from our fans at that point in time. He played to the gallery. He delivered. He did the dream. That's something you would think. Just imagine if we did. What was it? What was that? The fourth goal, third goal.
The third. We got another penalty after that in Champs.
That's what it was. Yeah. So you're like, to go 3-0 up against them at Hampden. Imagine if we did a Panenka penalty. Dembele's like, see all these thoughts? I'll do it. Just up steps the man. And I just think the arrogance of that. I thought it was how to highlight the difference in the sports that we're playing right now at this point in time. And that's how to rubber stamp it. That's how to signpost the banter years are well and truly here, and they're here to stay at that point in time. And Musa's Panenka penalty to me, I think we could wait another 30, 40 years before you ever see anyone do that in that fixture. And,
we've got a few historical stats here as well, don't he? Last bloke scored a hat-trick. And that was about, 30, 40 years before him for a Celtic player.
A perfect hat-trick too.
It was a perfect hat-trick.
He would be in a very exclusive club, I would imagine, with a perfect hat-trick. But yeah, Panenka penalty at Hampden against them, I just think that's just amazing. Just amazing, the arrogance of it. And just the way he's so casual running up to the Celtic and like, I am right now in the throne and I am all, you're all here for it. And I just, love that.
I wonder if there's going to be another Musa goal at Hampden features. I've been mentioned in the comments a couple of times when you began talking about Musa. That's where I thought it was going, but it wasn't the one I was expecting. But fair play, the Panenka one is just top banter as well. And we don't see that too often in that fixture. Liam, what about yourself? What is your number 7?
I'm going to stay on the Dembele bandwagon. I love it. I thought I had another one. And by the way, I thought the most famous line that you were going to say was, what's the goalie doing, Phil?
I thought he was going to say that as well. There was a few that were jumping to mind when he said that. I wasn't expecting yes, he can. That was quite far down my list, actually. If I was writing a top 10 Ian Crocker's line, I don't think I would have made it, Phil, to be honest with you.
It's so absurd. I think Jonathan, you nailed it. It's the surprise in his voice when he goes, yes, he can. Because he didn't expect it, I think. He just turned and volleyed at the top corner. That's what makes it always stand out for me, but it's just like, what? Sorry, Liam. On you go, Dembele.
The one I like the one. There was a ball that came across. I think it was maybe a loose stick or something. Crossed it in for the right, and he let it go through his legs, and then dragged it in past his heel, not the keep process as well. Let it come through his body and tapped it and dragged it into his back heel past the goalie. Oh, like stuff he's trying to do, training and all that, and fives and stuff like that. You see a guy doing that in a game that magnitude as well. I thought it was an absolutely brilliant goal.
Oh, it was a great goal. That was one I thought that Russell was going for there when he was talking about it. But that's the League Cup semi-final, 2016-17. That was amazing. Because that was like the 88th minute in the game. It was 0-0. We beat them 5-1 in the first game.
It's Lee Griffith outside of the left boot, is it not? Who passes
That's
it?
right. Yeah, you're right. It's Griffiths.
Does he not make two players, a defender and a goalkeeper? Oh, brilliant.
That was, again, that arrogance thing, Liam, isn't it?
He had that in spades, and those are the good goals that you need to win against Rangers. You need a bit of arrogance on the park. I think show that this weekend. I think you'll see something. See him start to get some dominance, I hope. That
would be a story and a half. Although, interestingly enough, Russell, your favourite word from that goal, the one that Liam's talked about, from the 1-0 game, your favourite word was doing the rounds at that time as well, because Mark Warburton was very fond of it, talking about gaps. Because we beat them 5-1 in the first game, and his sort of defence mode was, I don't think the gap's that big. And of course, it was 0-0 in the second meeting up until about the 88th minute. But then Dembele went and did that. But yeah, they were talking about gaps even back then and saying it's not as big as it seems. Aye, it is. And Dembele's able to do that against just a wee casual back heel goal that goes through a defender and the goalkeeper's legs.
Their goalie was a big pudding for Blackpool.
Matt Jelks.
Jelks. Of his life. Was he not brilliant that day?
He did play well that day.
Brilliant, eh? And that's how to bamboozle me. That flick was class. I actually forgot all about that, to be honest, when I was doing my list.
It's a good list. It's the garrulousness of it to win a game. And again, it's late on in the game, so the significance of it was huge. Now, what about yourself, Jonathan? Your number 7 goal?
Number 7, I'm again going to go back to more the current day. I'm actually going to go for a goal from the current season to just bring us right up to speed. I am going to go for the first game at Celtic Park this season in the league. Jota steps up to the plate and delivers a beautiful chip over the hopeless. Was it Alan McGregor that was selling goals then? I can't remember. Who was it? John McLaughlin. I was going to say it wasn't McGregor. That's right.
Later on.
Yes, that's right. It was John McLaughlin. And he just, it's such a good chip. He runs away. The Celtic fans are going absolutely nuts. The celebration is iconic. It's the kind of thing they'll end up making T-shirts about. I think Jota might end up rubber stamping that as his own sort of trademark celebration, if you will, against Rangers. It does seem to be going that sort of way, I think. And he's just another one who understands this fixture and understands how to do things with a bit of panache and a bit of quality. And again, it was another opportunity for us to assert our dominance and prove that, the first season under Postecoglou, Rangers were trying to say they'd bridged the gap. They got to that European final at the end of the season before. They'd ran as close. They drew one each. They knocked us out the Scottish Cup. They were coming to Celtic Park expecting that things were starting to improve again for them. And we just went and said, into your box you go. And Jota, as I say, was the one who had the salt shaker, as I like to put it, and was the one sprinkling the salt all over their wounds with that beautiful finish.
Oh, it was. It was a fantastic. It was one that was in my short list. It was so hard to pick a 10, but I had it down to 19. That was definitely in there.
The thing was it not? My memory not served me right. They were that rattled by that goal by Jota. They started saying it was like an IRA reference and stuff. Oh, aye. Portuguese wingers doing an IRA reference. Look at the salute and all this. You're like, oh my God.
He does like to do his bit on the culture, Russell. He's in the Brazen Head a few weeks ago. You never know where he might have been before that.
Yeah, indeed. I remember, the quick free kick that we take, and then Matt O'Reilly, it's the perfect pass through to him, just it doesn't have to break his stride or nothing, just right into his path, and the angle is always closing on him, regardless. People might say, it was McLaughlin who was in goal, still a tight angle to score from, and he just didn't have to break his stride. One touch over the goalkeeper, fantastic. It's an iconic goal. And hopefully he's got many more to come against him, but that one is going to be hard for him to beat, and it's his own personal goals against them. Phenomenal finish. And I say it was one that I was strongly considering as well, and amongst the ones I'd whittled it down to. It was a tough task to make it to 10. The number 7 for me is one we've already spoken about, so there's not much more to add. I've got Sean Maloney's goal at number 7 from that League Cup game. Let's say we've already spoken about it, so yeah, it's. I think it's going to feature again at some point as well tonight. But yeah, I'm giving Sean Maloney my number 7 spot on that one. So as I said earlier on, there's a points tally that's going on in the background just now. Sean Maloney is now in the outright lead because he's got the.
There's not many. Has there been any other duplicates so far?
A couple, Alan Thompson goal.
The Thompson one.
Thompson one's a duplicate at the moment.
I'm sure there might be a few more to come.
I think as we get higher up, there's going to be. But yeah, that's Sean Maloney. He gets some points for that one. There you go.
Like Eurovision come early.
It's like Eurovision, it is a wee bit. No pois.
Just need Graham Norton on to give us one of his famous lines like Ian Crocker. It's fucking brilliant.
Number 6 for you, Russell.
I am going for the day that just can't get enough came to life. Celtic Park was rocking. Neil Lennon promised the thunder. He brought the thunder that day. We beat them 3-0. Yes, we could go for the one where Hooper retired him, but I actually prefer the other goal. I think the counter-attacking play down the left where Sammy sprints down that, gets it to Izagiri, who whips that ball across. Izagiri was like Bobby Carlos incarnate that season. He was unbelievable. Whips it across. I mean, Hooper slid in at the back post. It was like, fuck, we are at it today. Like, it was a display at that point. It was utter rock and roll football. And again, you need to remember this is against Walter Smith Rangers. You don't get carved up like this. Celtic were carving them up that day and just were at it for the get-go. Young, vibrant team. New heroes, left, right and centre. A bit like what Ange has done as well. I know Lennon won't get the credit for that then, but he did. You know, we brought in so many players for that first season and you were beginning to find new heroes that year. And I think in Izagiri we thought, wow, that we've got a live one here in terms of how good a left-back it looked like he was going to be. It's Samaras who finds him up the top left. And he just bombs on. It's a great pass for Samaras. And then the ball across for Izagiri. Poof, and then Hooper, right at pace, slides in. And the ball's actually in the air. It bounces in front of him. And as he's sliding, he still cushions it into the net. And we were rocking that day. That game just brings so many good memories back to me. Brilliant time in my life as well. Just loved it. And I thought that goal was really, it felt then like we're the footballing team here, which I think was then the narrative for the next sort of 24 months. Was, you know, actually they're a bunch of hammer throwing bastards. You know what I mean? How the hell did we lose 3 titles in a row? Do you know what I mean? They're all they're not here to play football. Celtic that day were brilliant. It was a brilliant footballing schooling that we took them to, and that goal was a team goal, just at pace, brilliant.
We were talking about that era not too long ago when we did the Scottish Cup Skelpins one, and we talked about 2011 because that game comes in that period where we go to Ibrox and draw 2-2 and all that. And you said at the time, you went, Walter Smith just realised that the only way to beat this Celtic team at the moment is just to kick them, just to basically kick them all over the place. And they just had an absolute team of cretins at that point who just did that, unfortunately. And but yeah, that day. So that was that's the second goal that day. The first one's one where he ends Davy Weir's career. Yeah, and the second one is the slides into the back post. Yeah, that's fair. It's a good goal. And I've another goal in that game might feature as well at some points. I've seen it mentioned a couple of times in the comments. That was the third goal that day was a banger as well. But we'll see if that pops up at any point tonight. But Liam, what about yourself? What is your number 6?
Number 6, I went again for a wee bit of a different one. Dyson Maeda. He scored that first goal against Rangers. Is that Ibrox?
Ibrox earlier this year,
this season. Yeah.
What I loved about the goal, it was everything you were promised about Dyson Maeda. It was like they lost their concentration for just a second, and the way he pounced on that ball and the speed that he ran through them way, you could just see that. They've still got the fear because they know now that every time that can happen, that if they don't pay attention, they just let them down. The way he can just take the ball off them and go straight at goal. I think that's I'm excited. I want to see that again.
I love that.
You know, and so I love that goal for that as well because it was just dominance. You know, you like it when you bully them a wee bit. You know, especially in their place. And I'm hoping there's something tomorrow as well.
It's a goal that I've brought up a few times because I think it was a landmark moment for Maeda, because the word composure is one you didn't associate with Daisen Maeda. As you said, it's the things that you didn't expect with him, that goal. Because when he was running through and he had all that time to think, I wasn't confident he was going to score. I'd seen this chapter before with Maeda, and I was like, something's going to go wrong here. But no, he finished it very, very well. And it was like, okay, now that's what he was. Because he was getting a lot of criticism. Like, they'll lot were saying, he's rubbish. No, he's not a threat at all. He played up front in the game the season before the Scottish Cup semi that we lost. I remember he started through the middle that day and he did not have a good day at all. A few of my mates that are Rangers fans were like, honestly, what did you even buy him for? Shite. And then you see some of the performances in Europe and stuff where he's fluffing chance after chance. But when he was running through on goal at Ibrox, I was like, oh no, he's going to miss here. Oh, I just had no confidence, but then we put it away. So yeah, that was that purple patch he had just after the World Cup where he wasn't missing much at all, to be fair. He was on absolute fire at that point. So that's a good choice. Good outside the box fight there. I like that, Liam. Nice
yeah,
one.
I like that as a curveball, to be honest with Maeda. I wouldn't have expected that one to get in there by anyone. But I think it actually does kind of actually define how Maeda works in a lot of ways. You know, he's very sharp to actually anticipate the mistake. First of all, it's Tavernier, I believe, who plays the ball across, and it's
Maeda.
It was Morel who was playing it to. Yeah, Morel was playing it to Tavernier.
And then it's Tavernier who gets he kind of out muscles him as well in the midst of it all. Aye, brilliant goal.
Yeah, it's very good. It's not something you really expect of Maeda after he gets the ball in to then be able to take on the Rangers man and then actually finish it with the composure that he does. It's not the type of goal he usually scores for us, so it's a totally different one. But again, a very welcome one. And again, I think it probably proved a lot of his critics wrong as well, Maeda, that thought he perhaps shouldn't have been playing in those kind of games. And, you know, I think a lot of people are now a lot more comfortable. And, you know, as far as the game goes tomorrow, for example, Daisen Maeda's probably going to be one of the first names Postecoglou picks because he likes players that give him that sort of energy and have that anticipation to break things up, you know, when Rangers are likely to have a lot of the ball, like they will do at Ibrox.
Oh, they all do. No, it was a great moment. At that point as well in that game, we started that game so well, remember? Like, they were shell-shocked by that goal. And then we were dominating it. It was one silly moment where it was like Joe Hart just fluffed a kick out, didn't he? And it gave them a wee lift. But at that point in time with that Maeda goal, you felt we were going to go on and score 2 or 3 in that first half hour. We were absolutely dominant. By the Maeda goal. So he beats Tavernier and I think Goldson, gets by the two of them. But Morelos comes back, trying to defend, and very aggressively passes the ball across the park to Tavernier and doesn't see Maeda on his blind side, and it's a loose ball around Maeda. He's going to just turn on the afterburners and get to it first, and he certainly did on that one. Jonathan, what about yourself for number 6? What you got?
Number 6, I'm going back to 2018. I think I was going back to that game that you've got earlier, where Tom Rogic scores, but I'm not going for Tom Rogic's goal. I'm going for a different goal in this game after Celtic go down to 10 men. It's looking like it could be our first defeat to them for a long time. Brendan Rodgers starts having to come up with a new game plan once Juminovic has been sent off. He looks around his bench. Now, most managers in this situation would pull on a defender and always remember thinking, what the fuck? This is insane. I was well up for it, but I was like, this is mad. He's really going to do this. It pulls on Odsonne Edouard and decides to go with 2 up front. And then the delicious moment where we catch them on the break, Dembele links with Edouard. And it's so unfortunate they never got to spend more time on the pitch against Rangers together, because I think they could have done some amount of damage. Edouard then cuts in, and it's an absolute beautiful finish right into the far corner. Just when they think they're getting their hopes up so much that this is going to be their day and they're finally going to get the better of us, Odsonne Edouard steps off the bench to get the winning goal. And once again, it's another historical game because it's the last time that Celtic fans have had the Broom loan at Ibrox, and we're probably never going to get it back because of that goal.
Yeah, probably that is the case. But the counter attack and the whole like sweeping move, it's like that pass from Dembele right into the gap, and Edouard taking the touch and bending it into the far corner. It's just fantastic. It's literally, I think, less than 10 seconds from one end of the park to the other. Just so quick the way we just moved it there. And brilliant moment. And I think we've talked about it before, where you just see the difference in the managers. One manager on the sidelines all about getting the fans all G'd up. We're a cheerleader. The other manager's talking to his assistant, and then he's giving all the instructions about, we're going to change this, that, the next thing. Brendan Rodgers, obviously, switching it around. And you're right. I remember at the time, Jonathan, when he did bring on another forward, because at 2-2, we're like, oh, you know what? We're down 10 men.
All right.
Take a draw here. And then he's bringing on Edward, and you're like, oh, this is a bit risky here, but he knows best, and he proved it that day. But what an incredible finish that was by Edward, and it was superb. Probably his best goal against him, maybe, in terms of just like technique. He did score a fair few against him, but that goal was outrageous. Now, the other one, number 6 here, is another one from Ibrox. We're going to go back, though, to the 1990s, all the way back to a dark time, but a hell of a game, another slobber knocker of a game. This is a definition of a ball that gets hit and it stays hit. If there wasn't a net and a stand behind the goal, the ball would probably still be travelling around the orbit of the world to this day. And it is from a free game in 95-96, Tommy Burns' phenomenal entertainer team that were so unlucky not to win the league. With the one loss in the league all season, but draws let them down. But we went to Ibrox that day and got a battling 3-3 draw. Andreas Tom opened the scoring that day with an absolute thunder bastard, to say the least. I believe Tom Boyd plays a long ball up to him, and he sort of just chases it down, just runs at the goal. But he's a good 30 yards for goal, and again just puts his laces through it. As I say, it stays hit. If there's no net there, then if any fans sitting behind me thankful there was a net, because that was hit with serious ferocity. That
How
one.
many minutes was that, Phil?
That was the opening goal in the game. I can't remember what the time was.
Early. I think it was early.
It was the first 10 minutes, I reckon. Somebody in the chat, we've mentioned a few times, somebody in the chat might come and tell us, but it was the opening goal in what was a slobber knocker of a game that day, a 6-goal thriller played out between both teams. But yeah, Andy Tom's thunder bastard put us 1-0 up there. But it's one of the games where had we gone, if we'd held on and won that game, I think the way the scoring went in that game was we took the lead, Rangers went 2-1 up, we made it 2-2, they got 3-2 up, and we equalised with a penalty, I believe, or was it Van Hooydonk's header? But yeah, it was one of the ones where we had the lead, and if we could have just held on, and could have been the difference at the end of the season. So we lost the league, we won defeat, and it's like, I've gotten Tommy Burns. So many fans will always say it. That's like one thing you just wish Tommy had got a title as manager. It would have been a phenomenal moment. But that was the closest he came, because the next season, despite adding DiCario, and you think that's going to be a better team, we actually lost more games the next season. But at that point, it was just Tom and Van Hooijdonk with the only two. Cadet hadn't even arrived at that point. But Andy Tom, that was his definite defining moment, I think, in a Celtic shirt, that one. An absolute belter. And again, one that I don't think will be the last time it gets mentioned tonight. I think it might still come up in somebody else's. But yeah, that's us through our 10s to number 6 at the moment. So we're coming up to the hour mark. So it's almost worked perfectly there. At the moment, with the wee score that I've got going, out in the lead at the top is still Sean Maloney's on 7 points, because it's a case of your 10th place goal gets a point, 9th place gets 2, 3, and it goes.
It's like Eurovision. It's like Eurovision, Russell.
Like Eurovision,
I know you'll watch it. It's on tomorrow night. I know you'll be watching it.
It's just like that, funny enough. So though Sean Maloney is ahead, but I think that's going to change massively in the second half when we do number 5 to number 1, because I think there's some big heavyweight goals coming here, some real big hitters. So yeah, we'll be back in a couple of minutes, and we'll be going over number 5 to 1. So we'll see you in 2 minutes, guys.
I mean, you've all that stuff at the start. They won't be playing Tina Turner on the coach on the way home, will they?
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan. He's a Rangers puppet. He's a cheerleader. That's what he is.
And we are back, folks. Well, 3 of us are back just now anyway. I'm sure Russell will be imminently with us. But yeah, as I say, we are through numbers 10 to 6 on our lists. And at the moment, Sean Maloney's goal from the League Cup is out in front but I think that's going to change massively going into this part, because there's a few goals that I think are going to come up again that have been mentioned already, so that'll get them extra points. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. So here he comes now, just fixing his headset. There we go. Sorted. Welcome back, Russell. Welcome back, mate. So yeah, this is into the top 5 now. So there's going to be some pretty big hitters coming here. I think is going to shake up the top end of the table right now. So Russell, your number 5 goal.
I have went for the green and whitewash Chris Sutton chip.
Okay.
Where he throws Frank de Boer about like a wee wet tracksuit and inexplicably scores a goal that was so un-Chris Sutton, it was unbelievable. At the last minute of the game, it's a 1-0 win, and it's Sutton. As if Sutton wasn't going to be in my top 10. It doesn't fucking matter, does it? If it hadn't been that, I would have went for his tapping in the 6-2. It would have probably still made the top 5. So it's one of those ones I am absolutely biased, but I actually think you look at that goal, just ridiculous. Ridiculous under those circumstances. This is the difference when you've got real top quality players, because he's seen something that we're not seeing as fans. That's when you know there's a difference. He's seen something that you cannot identify, even watch it on the telly, that's on. No one else in the park can see that that's on apart from Chris Sutton at that moment in time. And it's the fact he sets his own goal up. He wins the lead header. Henrik just flicks it back to him. And then it's the shoulder. It's just a wee mix of all the things that we loved about Sutton. And then he just adds a wee bit that we didn't know about him. The winning the initial header, seen it a million times. And he actually uses the back of his head to flick it to Henrik, if you remember. He actually uses it. And it's all very deliberate. But then that just drop of the shoulder, both out the road, you Frank de Boer. He goes flying down. He's still sliding down a mud hole there. And then Sutty finds that dink from absolutely, he just pulls that right to his arse. Let's be honest, nobody's expecting that to happen. And it's a 1-0 win. It means was it 6 out of 6 that season? 5 out of 5? 6?
5 out of 5.
5 out of 5. Put in the cup. Interesting. No, because I've also got that. I'm just going to go in next. I've also got that as my number 5. So brothers obviously think alike. When it comes to this, Chris Sutton is also in my top 5, and it's the exact same goal, and it's in the exact same position on my list. And I think Russell's covered it off pretty well. Although the only other thing I remember about that is you get to see one of the replays of that goal, and it's behind the goals, and you can see the Rangers fans actually celebrating. And this is when they were actually still a reasonably big club. They used to actually win things back then. But they were actually about to celebrate drawing 0-0 at Celtic Park. It was remarkable. They were actually all up dancing and bouncing and doing all of this in the background. And then you just see Sutton shrugging off de Boer and doing this beautiful chip. And you just see the heads going into the hands, like all of them in that end. And it's so delicious, the reverse angle of it. But, it was, you're right, it was the completely green and whitewash. I would imagine I would imagine Phil will know. Is that the last time Celtic managed to do that? Because I don't think we've done that. Yeah,
we've not done that since, even in the
Brendan Rodgers seasons. One season,
snidey drawaways every couple of times. The 2 seasons.
Funnily enough, they celebrated the exact same way. Remember the Clint Hill who scored?
Clint Hill equaliser,
and they absolutely lapped that 1-1 draw up as if they'd won 17-0. Bizarre.
The context of that game after we drew that game 1-1, I think we were 33 points in front in the league and still undefeated. But they were celebrating. And then a year later, they had a 0-0 draw at Celtic Park, and again they celebrated that. And it's like, we're still miles ahead at the top of the league, guys. Speaking of the top of the league, though, as a result of you two guys picking that as your number 5, Chris Sutton's chip is now very far into the lead. It's on 12 points. So it has took the lead outright by quite a distance ahead of Sean Maloney. And I get a feeling it could get a few more points. It's going to be a front runner, I think, in this one. And to be fair, Russell, I thought Chris Sutton's goal would be higher for you. I thought you'd had Sutton in
I thought you'd have had him higher as well. Yeah, I think you'd have had him higher as well.
Come on, Russell, you're better than that.
Can he put Sutton higher? Yes, he can.
So, Liam, what is your number 5 in kicking off the top half of your list?
Right. I've got Bruni, doing the Bruni. I've been at Bruni, for loads of things, but you give credit where it's due as well. I mean, I do love him as a player. I loved him scoring goals for Celtic, doing what he does that. And that game against Rangers, against El Hadji Diouf, I mean, I've become a cultural phenomenon. It's like those things. You can draw silhouettes of a football player. You can draw Ronaldo. You can draw, certain stances just as an outline. You do the Bruni. A lot of people know who that is. Everybody knows that's Scott Brown. And I think that became iconic. And also just I don't know. I mean, he's a selfish player, I think, right? And that, to me, was just typical Scott Brown. I mean, he was showing a point to El Hadji Diouf, and it was just like, watch me. I'm going to bully you. And it's like, just a pure jealousness of it as well. And I think that's a word that keeps coming up this afternoon.
Left foot curler as well, Liam.
It was ridiculous.
Express yourselves, right? Take chances. Go for the gallus goals and, see what happens. And I think we've got a team that can do that now.
For a shadow of doubt. It's absurd, the goal, when you think about it. Is he left foot? I mean, he scored a few bangers over the time. You think Scott Brown did pull out a screamer from time to time, but that one with his left foot bending at the far corner, down to 10 men under pressure.
2-1 down.
Aye.
It was the thing is that Liam's talking about with Juve, it's the fact you fucking scored the best goal you'll ever score against Rangers on your weak foot, and all you've been thinking about, even as you're doing it, is, I know he's standing right there, and you've got, rather than going do lally like Lustig with the shirt over your head, straight back into Bruni mode. Well, you must be feeling like it must all be rushing through him, all the adrenaline. You could just do the blunt face. It's like, wow, that is amazing. I find it fascinating, the psychology of a lot of players and what makes them tick. And I think for Bruni, one thing that he did was, even if it was false, I think in the case of El Hadji Diouf, it was very much real. But I think he needed someone to be a problem to him. He needed someone to be right. I'll show you, as you say, Liam. I think that helped him. And then I think in the case of Diouf, though, to score that goal and just go straight back into Bruni mode. No, he was standing. I mean, even Diouf must have been like, how the fuck did he know I was standing here? What the hell is this? And the face just goes so blunt. But the actual technique of that goal, Liam.
Oh, unbelievable.
I think as well, if you're looking, sorry, Liam, as well as just the significance of it in the context of that season. Because obviously Celtic would not go on to win the league that season. It was a near miss. And it's so important for Lenny, I think, that he gets a Scottish Cup in his first season as manager, and just to kind of, install the confidence in the board. I think with everything else that did end up happening that season, he would have probably bought himself a bit more time anyway. But, when you're first starting off as a manager at a club like Celtic, not winning any trophies in your first season puts you on a very sugary peg. Certainly if the second season then starts the same way as it does, and he doesn't have the Scottish Cup in the bank, Lenny might not have been able to see that out. So I think in terms of Neil Lennon's managerial career, I think that goes massive as well from a Celtic standpoint. Because let's not forget.
Lenny had doubled down on in terms of Bruni. Bruni was very close, Bruni, I think, to departing. I think Mowbray, it wasn't a Mowbray player. I think that was not his guy, and I think Lennon didn't just decide to invest in Bruni as a player in the team. He wanted to give him the captain's armband. He identified with him, and that was a big call. I mean, you look back again, talking about one of our most successful captains of all time, and the decision to get the armband came from Neil Lennon. Again, it'll never be given any credit, but that was something that Lennon spied in him that I didn't see at the time. I'll be honest, I didn't see him as being the leader of the group. I didn't think he would go on to 35 years old in the Celtic midfield. I thought he would be. Well, I felt there was guys in that team. In fact, midfielders Lennon signed himself that I thought were making a stronger case doing the team. But Lennon hung his hat on him and went right all the chips in on Bruni by giving him the armband as well. That's how you get repaid. I love that game. That game is one of my favourites in the Lennon first season.
I think that's my favourite game against them that Celtic didn't win.
2-2. I mean, 2-2 we passed them off the park that second half. And with 10 men the whole time, we were so good. And Liam, it's a great shout.
Aye, without a doubt. And I got a feeling it might feature again. So it could be a shout of being in around the top 3 tonight by the end of it. So keep an eye on a little Celtic Eurovision, Celtic Vision that's going on tonight. There you go, a wee points tally that's going on. But my number 5's already been mentioned as well, and it's Alan Thompson's goal from the one in 2004-2005. I think what Jonathan said earlier was pretty spot on. It was the first game as well without Larson after he'd left, so there was a sort of, God, how's this going to go without the talisman? Obviously, Juninho had signed, and Juninho had quite a good game that day. He was thrown right into the fire, and he took it pretty well, gave Rangers a lot of problems, but ultimately we didn't score a goal from that. But it came from good old faithful Alan Thompson. But yeah, he just lashed it in on the underside of the crossbar, pinging in the Stefan Clausen goal as well. You know, best goalie definitely in the league at that point in time, one of their best goalies after Gorham, no doubt about it. So no mean feat to put it where he put it, right in the top corner. But yeah, there's the comedy of Alan Hutton heading it out, and then Mark Haley. Oh, great defensive header from Hutton, wasn't he? No, he teed him up. It was a great way-off header.
Iconic lines.
It was a brilliant way-off header, Mark. It really was. It was a good assist, but yeah, it was a significant goal. Interesting enough, Russell, you've not had a Thompson goal yet, have you? Or have you said one?
No, I don't think he's said one yet. But just out of interest, I do wonder if you, Phil, were close to picking one of his other ones. So he's got previous for doing it, and I do wonder if it maybe will come up. But there is another similar goal he scores, I think, the season before, which is a free kick that goes in off the underside of the bar as well. So Thompson's no stranger to big goals in these games.
Sven had came up to see him, and I think we were championing. I don't know why we were so desperate for Thompson to get an England cap, but it felt like we were at the time. Like, you know, as much as we like slagging those bastards off, there's almost like a side to us that still want them to appreciate and respect us as well. It's a weird conundrum that you find yourself in. And we all felt he was the missing piece in England's puzzle because they didn't have a left-sided midfield. And we're like, how's Alan Thompson not it? And then Sven famously, I think, left 5 minutes before Thompson scored that free kick.
No way.
He left, man. So you never even seen it.
Because that was the other one that was in my head about Alan Thompson, if he was going to make it, was a free kick. But no, I went for that one. But another one that I think's a decent shout, which probably gets easy forgotten, is there's one from 2001 where he picks it up out wide and just weaves past about 4 of them and just passes it into the.
I enjoyed watching that one back.
One of the ones where as he hits it starts outside the post and bends back in, and just we saw Haksabanovic score a goal like that this season where he bends it along the ground and it starts outside the post and comes back in. But yeah, that was one that crossed me. But he was always good for a goal against him. But yeah, the one from 04-05, I've got it as my number 5, so that gets it 6 points there. But still not in the lead. That is still Chris Sutton at the moment. He is out in front. So Russell, over to you for your number 4.
Well, this has annoyed me, this guy, because watching those goals back, how was he not mentioned as one of the scalpers? How was he not? He scored all the time in the mid-90s because we associate with bad results. John Collins tormented Rangers. Look how many goals he scored against them. I think it was 6 I counted, and it all seems to be in a very condensed period of time in the mid-90s. The one I went for is the free kick. I believe it's the Predators he's wearing.
Yeah, okay, 93-94. Okay.
And Andy go no, it's not 93-94. So it's not the first one in the Predators. It's not Andy Gorham's in goal.
Have Rangers got an Adidas kit that's got 3 white stripes on the sleeve?
I can't
remember. Because there's 2 free kicks he scores 2 seasons in the bounds.
2 seasons in the bounds. So he scores one that goes top bins, but it's not Gorham in goals. It's that Colin someone. But it's the one where Gorham's in goal.
The one that bends.
Right, okay.
The one that bends.
Yes.
So much. You need to remember, we've done the first ever Bustalgia we did, Phil, was based on the World Cup '94.
Yes.
This is when me and you both fell in love with football. Right? Yeah. That's when football, the whole penny dropped. So this is now my first season pretty invested, do you know what I mean, in what's happening here. And knowing we don't get results against them, yada yada, we're going to win this game 2-0. At Ibrox, and that ball, Gorham again, look what the damage he did to us in that period as well. Pulling out saves at his arse. He doesn't even move for this. Collins' technique is a shambles. How good it is. Watch it, and you get the behind Collins angle and the way he leans back. That ball is a yard outside the post.
Yep.
Curls in. For Gorham not to even move and just stand and watch, he's in disbelief.
Yep.
And at that point in time, I think Collins was their absolute scalper. He should have been featured in Bustalgia. We totally missed that. The amount of goals he scores against them in a poor Celtic team, he was absolutely unreal. But that goal for me, Techers wise, brilliant, and a win at Ibrox. How often did that happen at that point in time? So it's got the significance factor. We know it's not going on to win league titles, but that wasn't the case then. It was a win against them at their own ground, 2-0. That doesn't happen. And to do a moment of brilliance like that, and again, one of my first memories being a Celtic fan. I always say my first real memory is Paul McStay missing the
penalty.
Missing the penalty against Raith Rovers, which was a couple of months later, I believe. But I do remember that goal by Collins and it being like a shock thing at the time.
Yeah.
But that season was the first I was invested in Celtic.
It's 94-95, because that'll be Tommy Burns' first season as manager, and that was his first game against him as manager, and we went to Ibrox and won. So you're right.
What is all this about? But that technique, no wonder he went on to play at Monaco and all that, and won English Championship Player of the Year at 33 years old. Easy peasy, mate. He was a player.
Well, I mean, that free kick, I don't think I've ever seen a free kick bend as much as I've seen that one. I cannot think of one that actually comes close to bending as much as that when I've watched that back. It's
only Bobby Carlos. Bobby Carlos
aye.
from the Tournois, but that's the outside of the boot. To get that much swing in it with the inside of the boot is pretty special. You must remember that one, William.
Oh God, aye. I went out and bought a pair of Predators immediately. Trying to threw away the instructions too early. Anyway, right. Oh, that was a brilliant game. I mean, I remember the one against Rangers that he swung in. It was weird. We had a telecon cut in the bar I was watching it in, and it just came back on, and it came on just as he was lining up to hit that goal. And it was just like pandemonium, you know. But, where are we on now? Is it my turn or is it?
Number 5, yeah. It's, is it number 5 or number 4?
Number 4, I think.
Number 4, I think. Sorry, number 4.
Right, so I'm going back to Scott McDonald again. And I don't know if it was the same one Jono was talking about. The one where the ball comes in for the left, he takes it on his chest, lets it fall, and volleys it into the corner. Was that the same one?
Jakes off.
Do you remember the commentary?
Yes, he can.
Do you remember the commentary, though? that was key. That was key for that goal.
You must remember the commentary where he can turn Broadfoot. Yes, he can. Mind blowing.
Ian Crocker's been living off that for about 14 years.
Aye, a JFK moment. Where were you when Ian Crocker said, "Can he turn Broadfoot?" Yes, he can. Oh.
Phil's wishing he'd have done this show now.
No,
not at all. As I say, I'm going to find the commentary to do and try and play it through my phone. So keep talking, Liam. Go on, talk about the goal, mate. I'll find my audio clip.
Oh, we go, like just pure class, you know. You like to see again, bit of swagger, you know, bit of gallousness. That's what you want in a game. I can see Hatate or Mikiogo doing one of these this weekend.
Oh, it'd be fantastic. See,
that's something you'd expect of them.
Yeah. Oh, you would.
You'd expect of them. I think that's what it is with McDonald's. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
This is a moment.
Scott McDonald, can he shake off Broadfoot? Yes, he can! An incredible goal! Scott McDonald!
Ian Crocker loved it. Incredible moment. He described it as. There you go. He shakes off.
Incredible goal. You missed that line. You missed that line.
But yeah, it's a nasty one because of the significance. We go and take a 7-point lead at that point in the season, and then we don't end up winning the title.
You led with it being like the commentary was unreal, mate. I just didn't.
It was stuck in my head because of how absurd the line is. It's always etched in my mind.
I'm sure you said, "I'll never forget it." I think that was your exact words.
Because it's so ridiculous.
I can tell you, I forgot.
I couldn't have told you the commentary for that goal before you said it, but now I will never forget it after tonight.
I'll never forget it. Could never forget.
It's just a ridiculous one. Can he shake off Kirk Broadfoot? Yes, he can. There you go. But yeah, it's a hell of a goal. And I'll add that one into the total just now. But yeah, it's so disappointing to go and win that game and the goal we score and get basically nothing that season for our troubles. It's like, oh man. Oh well, but okay, I'll add that one in just now. So Jonathan, you're number 4.
Yeah, my number 4 has been mentioned already. Liam's already mentioned it. It is Scott Brown at Ibrox. And again, as I say, it goes back to that iconic celebration. A bit more memorable than Crocker's commentary, if you ask me. It's one of those moments. One of those moments in time I think will always live long in the memory. It's going to be one of those things that whenever they put together highlights packages of Celtic Rangers games, you're looking at it from a Celtic standpoint, that goal and that celebration are always going to be there or thereabouts. And it's one that Scott Brown will always be synonymous for as long as he's here.
Shadow of a doubt. I'm trying to. What other goals did he score against Rangers? I think he scored a penalty one time against them, which was a
3-2 defeat.
Yeah,
a 3-2 defeat.
I think he scored
Did he not miss a penalty when we won in the last minute? But he missed a penalty that game, did he not? Did. He missed a penalty when Venegar scored the winner.
No, McDonald missed that day. It was Scott
McDonald. That's what I'm talking about.
We're talking about Brown.
Brown. Oh, sorry. I'm still stuck on Scott.
You're still stuck on that Ian Crocker commentary. You can't get over it.
Love it. Yes, he can. Yes, he can.
Scott Brown even has scored against him.
Other than that,
just a penalty.
Definitely scored a penalty in that 3-2 game that we lost, the one where we could have won the league at Ibrox. But I can't think I'm scoring any others because obviously they absolutely hate him with every fibre of their being. But it's like, well, other than that one wonder goal, so they didn't score any other winning goals against them or anything that I can think of. So it's just basically based on how we just to wind them up essentially is why the hatred is so strong for the guy. But no, it's a phenomenal goal. And again, the technique of it, not something you expect for Scott Brown, how he played the football over the years, but what a finish. So that was number 4. Number 4 for me is one that's came up already, but it was quite low down in the list when it was mentioned. But mine is the Paul Lambert Thunder Bastard in 97-98 and the New Year's Derby, a game that again we had to win. Such a significant season, the 10 in a row. It was obviously on the line, try to stop Rangers for getting that record. It was a game we went and we were behind in the league title race at that point, so we needed it badly. The game itself panned out. Celtic were the dominant team in it. Early in the season, we'd had a rearranged fixture, which was due to Princess Diana's death in August 97. The game we were meant to play against them at Celtic Park got put back to November. We played them in a midweek game when Alan Stubbs scored a late equaliser, which was a huge thing because we went through quite a run of losing league games continuously to them for about 2 years at that point. But the New Year game, we were all over them that day. And when Craig Bulgley gave us a lead about midway through the second half, it was just like a bomb going off. The noise in the stadium was like, it was building, it was coming, and then they're rattled the last few minutes of the game. They're getting a bit ragged. I think it's one of the defenders, see what Richard Goff or something, just lazily clears it. I feel like it's a cross for like McNamara comes, he just sort of clears it to maybe 30 yards out, and Paul Lambert just puts his laces through it. Like the Andy Tom goal I spoke about, it got hit and it stayed hit. And it even clips off the crossbar. And I think you spoke about this before, Russell. Again, this is at a time when Sky really put a lot of focus on it because Martin Tyler and Andy Gray were up that day for it.
That whole game's on YouTube, I'm pretty sure. The whole broadcast of Sky is on YouTube for that game.
Yes, he can, Timmy Bing. He can. Yes.
This is going to be a running thing, I think, now for the rest of maybe the rest of the season.
Maybe.
No, I know I go next, and my number 3 is the same goal. My number 3 is the Lambert goal, so that must rocket it up the charts because
so that will give it
that
7.
was a moment in time. I think at that point as well, Paul Lambert had got off to a bit of a slow start in a Celtic jersey. It's not often we sign literally a bona fide current Champions League winner. If we ever have again, have we ever signed a before or after a current Champions League winner? I don't think so.
Current? No.
Current, maybe a former one. Champions League winner. So you're like, wow. And he did start off a wee bit sluggish. If you remember, he was on the bench a few times in some of the big games, but he's found his feet by now. And suddenly we started going, holy shit, yeah, he can play. And that goal by Lambert, amazing. I always remember at the end of that game, I don't know if you remember this, he takes off his shirt and he goes up to exactly where he'd kind of been running on the touchline. So he'd been running up and down the touchline, and opposite the corner of his eye, he spied someone, a disabled fan, right? I'm not saying that in a bad way. And he's stuck in his memory. And at full time, I always remember this. He goes over, he walks up, he tucks his shirt in this disabled fan's jacket.
Oh, nice.
All on camera. How classy is that? Just like, so at the corner of his eye whilst he's celebrating that, he's he's tuned into that. I just think that gives me goosebumps, even that sort of thought. As you say, though, about the Martin Tyler thing, commentary makes it, and there's a reason the EPL was marketed so well. I do believe Martin Tyler and Andy Gray at that point in time in the 90s were a huge part of that. I think as a commentary crew, it was just outstanding. But, the Lambert strike, what a hit. And again, us beating them on a New Year's Day didn't happen. Do you know what I mean? And it was, I think the theory at that time was if you win the New Year's Derby, you go on and win the league.
That's right, yes.
It was, yeah. What do you mean win the league? I'm like, win the league? Are you saying there's a chance?
I think Celtic hadn't won the New Year's Derby since they'd last won the league, I think was where that story comes from. And that was where the belief comes from after we did it in that game. So, yeah, it was definitely a massive underlying story going into that game.
What a hit on the half volley, though. Paul Lambert only scored screamers.
Yeah.
Brilliant goals for Celtic.
Do you remember his goal the week after that against Motherwell at Fir Park? The goal against Rangers was his first goal in a Celtic shirt. Not a bad way to start. But then the next week he scored the goal that's arguably better. It's ridiculous. Two amazing goals.
Do that against them, though, in that time.
Yeah.
The significance, go back to Jonathan at the start of the show, the significance and etc. That's why it's top 3 for me. Third on my list is that Paul Lambert strike. Liam, you must have some memories of that.
Absolutely. I had Lambo up there. That was one of my original Thunder Bastards when I was making my list. That one's etched in the mind. My number 3, I went with, I think we've already done it. I had Jota on the wing, fist to the sky, rebel till I die, his pose at the end. It was just an absolute glorious.
Fist in the sky, rebel till I die.
Is that what you were singing?
Now, that's good commentary.
Aye. Or something. I still absolutely love that goal. And when you hear my second goal, it's very, very similar. Go.
Oh, you're getting ahead of yourself.
Okay. Right. Jota takes 8 points on. I can tell you that Paul Lambert's goal is in the lead now after getting a 4th place and a 3rd place for me and Russell. So, yeah, it's in the lead right now.
Where else did it place? Was it number 10?
Liam gave it its 10th place, so it's got 16 points just now. It's in the lead.
Fair dues.
16, yes. Jonathan, your number 3.
My number 3 is a different one that hasn't been mentioned yet. I'm going to go for a goal under Gordon Strachan's era, and I'm going to go for a goal which kick-started a comeback that nobody seen coming after it looked as if Rangers were home and hosed in the league title race. There was a bit of iconic commentary in this game, but that's not the goal I'm referring to. There is a moment where the ball, I think, comes to Gary Caldwell, who passes it off to Shinsuke Nakamura, who is about 35 yards out, takes it on the half volley, absolutely leathers it, proper Thunder Bastard, swerves all over the place, completely wrong foot Alan McGregor in goals and goes into the top corner. I'm sure this will be on your list, Phil, because I believe you were at the ground for this when it was one of your first season, I think, as a Celtic fan in as a season ticket holder. So again, incredible scenes. I do pay attention. I do my homework, Russell. You should try it.
Oh, dear.
But it was just an incredible moment, and it was one of those games where it comes back again to what I've been saying in terms of how I put my list together. In terms of significance, it was a league title that was looking totally done and dead in the water, and Shinsuke Nakamura restarts the title bid that would end up being a success come May. when the league eventually gets extended, and it's such a good goal and such a big
Quite
moment.
iconic commentary that season, Jonathan, isn't there, by Ian Croker? Is that the SOS?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Season. See, that was
That's
quite
where
good.
I thought Phil was going. I thought that's where Phil was going with that
So
iconic commentary.
you mean the Caldwell, McDonald, Vennegoor Hesselink? He's done it. Jan Vennegoor Hesselink answers the Celtic SOS. Save our season because they are still in the title race.
Yeah,
yes,
I
indeed.
mean, like, can you see the differences we're now talking about, Phil? Now you've said them both out loud.
I want to be funny for the Manchester goal, otherwise, just because it's so stupid. Can you shake off Broadfoot? Just sticks. Anyway, that line is good for the Vennegoor Hesselink one. That one saved our season, still in the title race. Brilliant. And Jonathan may be right with his prediction. That one might still to come in my one. But up next, my number 3. Can I shock you, gentlemen? I've got a certain Swedish striker at number 3, and it's probably not the one that you think it's going to be. Because I've said before, as much as that chip is amazing, I've got a Celtic goal for Larsson against Rangers that I actually like more, which is from a 3-3 game that we obviously didn't win. Didn't he win anything that season?
I was close to picking this.
Didn't he win anything that season? I think that's one of the reasons why this goal kind of gets put aside, because ultimately we didn't go on to win the game. We didn't win anything. It's the Seville season. But yeah, it's the 3-3 draw at the start of the season. Didier Agat plays a nice low cross from the right-hand side. Larsson back to goal. Craig Moore gets close to him. One touch with his left foot just makes it bounce up nicely in front of him. And again, in one sweeping motion, he just turns and hits it. And just so he sets up with his right foot, turns and volleys it with his weaker, if he had a weaker foot, left foot right into the top corner. And it's just a phenomenal goal. I just love the technique in it. I mean, the chip is something else, but again, I always appreciate a good volley, half volley, whatever. But that one, and again, it's how quick it's done, how sudden. Where, Craig Moore's fighting, he's got him marked here, he's close to him, but Larsson just turns him in one move, just right foot sets it up, turn, volley, right in the top corner, and that's it. Bob's your uncle, and that's how that was the equaliser that day, because we went behind 3 times, I think, in that game, or it was a
twice. It went 2-1 up. We were 1-0 down, went 2-1 up, and 3-2 down.
Rob Douglas was still finishing.
Douglas just chucked down his net, pretty much.
I was still using Rami at the time.
Aye, that was a crazy game. But I think ultimately that goal and that game suffers because it's a game that we didn't go on to win anything that season because it was a Seville year. Although a great year, we've said it many times, despite winning nothing, the memories are amazing. But domestically, obviously, the way we lost the title as well, that one never gets forgotten. But yeah, that's my one and only Larsson goal that I've picked. I've not actually picked that. If I'd made the rules different and says just pick anybody, then all sorts of Larsson goals.
I think Henrik would have taken about 4 or 5 of them.
I think so. He didn't score many bad goals, but that's the one I went for. So there you go, Henrik Larsson.
That was a brilliant volley. It's probably one of my favourites.
Studs, remember, on his right foot. It's the right foot control with the studs to trap it, let it bounce, and then hooks around the left. It's just joy. Number 2 has been mentioned enough.
Yes.
For me, it is, we spoke about it, one of my favourite Celtic displays. It is Bruni becoming the Bruni. The goal with the left foot, the curler, just against all the odds. Again, you go down to 10 men, your eyes roll, you think, oh, for fuck's sake, right, that's that done. And no, Scott Brown decides, in fact, Celtic decided, Neil Lennon decided at half-time, go out there and play football against them because they're shite. Even with 10 men, watch you go, just play. And Celtic played football that day. That was brilliant. That goal was completely befitting of the second half display we put in there on their own ground, arrogantly just passing the ball left to right. We're tiring them out. We've only got 10 men. It was and Bruni, as I say, just the goal's so iconic. We've discussed it already. I don't want to go too repetitive.
Is that the first one that's been in everyone's list? Scott Brown's?
It's not been on mine.
Oh, it's
not been on yours.
Oh, it's not been on mine. Put it that way.
Not yet. Anyway. Not yet. Anyway. Possibly.
It must be doing okay in the charts, Phil.
It's doing very well on the charts. It's in the lead now.
Aye, Bruni's in the lead. I'm happy with that one. I'm just amazing feeling at that point in time when he did that. And I've spoke about it enough.
Liam Bobby yourself, what is your number 2. Just missed out on the top spot.
Well, you know, I told you how much I loved that Jota chip. Why not say it's like the cover version, the original? The original's always better than the cover version.
You
The
know it.
original. Larson coming around, is it big Amaruso, like sweating, trying to catch after him. The shoulder and that chip, just absolutely brilliant. And at that point, it's just looking at everybody around about you, and you know we've got a world class player. I remember just that thought, it's like, this guy is world class right now, and we've got him top of his game, and what a feeling that was, and yeah, just absolutely gorgeous ball. That's my number 2.
That is sensational.
But can he shake off Kirk Broadfoot, Russell? That's the real question. Could Henrik shake off Kirk Broadfoot? I'm not sure he could.
But that, yeah, I remember David Proven. He goes, look at the arrogance of that. That is world class, and it's like that is world class, as Liam says. The just deft chip, the presence of mind to do it. And Sutton, if you ever hear Sutton talk about the goal, Liam, he says what people forget. He says it's the. No, I was going to do his impression there. I can't bother. It's the ball. See the ball running away from you, right? Which in Larson says, whilst he's got it under control, the ball's rotating away from you. So to be able to then lean into it and chip it like that is even harder. It's like it is a joke of a finish. And yeah, he got a wee nutmeg and condiment and sent him for a hot dog as well, which is fantastic. Iconic goal, absolutely iconic.
It's one of those goals that, again, it's always going to be in any sort of highlights package anyone ever puts together between the two clubs, and is looking at it from a Celtic point of view. That goal is always going to be up there. Absolutely huge moment. You know, in terms of where we were at as a club, you know, as well, that game is pretty much seen by many as the turning point where things all begin to start turning, and people look at that goal as one of those moments in time where pretty much the dominance that Celtic have now is all kind of goes all the way back to that Martin O'Neill first game against Rangers, and specifically when you're looking at that game, you always go to that chip. So it's a very special place in a lot of Celtic fans' hearts. And as I say, it's one of those ones when it comes to significance, I don't think there's that many more significant than that.
Paul Diet's nailed it. He missed all 4 Old Firm games last season, but he enjoys making up for lost time. World class. It's like, yes, Crocker.
I didn't realise we were doing Crocker's best.
A lot of these goals are attached to Ian Crocker. Aye.
Should have done Crocker's top 10.
Because he's been the commentator on Scottish football since '98.
Phil McGinlay, Ian Crocker special next week.
Aye, Crocker Bustalgia. Aye.
Yeah, it was a guest.
But I do believe he has been the voice of Scottish football since 1998, because the 97-98 was the last season that Martin Tyler and Andy Gray did commentary for Scottish games on Sky, and then it was Ian Crocker to go over there.
Did he do it though? He didn't do it for Satanta, did he?
He jumped to Satanta. After the first season, it was Jock Brown and Mark Catley, and then they signed.
And then he jumped to Satanta.
Ian Crocker with Scott Booth alongside him.
Oh, he was murder, man.
He was terrible.
Terrible. Who was the other one? The one that played midfield for Livingston.
Steve Lovell.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh God. What do you even know about anything? Shut up.
I remember him. But Crocker did for a season anyway. He was still with Sky, and then he jumped to Satanta, and then came back to Sky. Obviously, with Satanta went kaput. It was them. Jonathan, did you give us a number 2 there? Or
I've not given the number 2 yet, no, but it has been mentioned many times, and it's going to extend his lead at the top of the charts, I believe, because my number 2 is Paul Lambert. It's Paul Lambert. I've already had done Scott Brown. Scott Brown. It's Paul Lambert's goal in 98. Just again, it goes back to the significance of it, not just the strike itself, which is unbelievable, but in the significance of that season and what it meant to the club, stopping the 10, and it all comes back to that game. It was a game Celtic had to win. Paul Lambert gets the massive goal that sealed the victory that day, and it just sparked absolute wild scenes, particularly towards the end of that season. It's one of my first memories in football, is my dad out the front with his bottle of champagne going about in the garden celebrating Celtic's win over Rangers, and I was still trying to come to terms with this football malarkey over what happened. We've got the neighbours that are Rangers fans. He's out sprinting about. You think he'd fucking scored the winning goal? You'd think he was fucking Henrik, fucking running about with champagne going all over his head. It's like, you calm down. But you look back on it, and it's just all goes. Aye. You go back to it, and it was just it was an incredible moment, and again, it's one that's etched in Celtic folklore because of how significant that goal is, and to boot, it's a worldie.
Oh, absolute screamer! It's the only goal so far that all four of us have had on our list. It's the only one. Aye, it is indeed. My number 2 is one that's been mentioned already. Is Chris Sutton's lob in 03-04 season.
It's creeping back up. It's making a comeback up the chart.
Yeah,
I didn't expect you to have that as high.
Oh, mate, I love that
Tell
goal.
us why it's so high.
Because it's the unexpected. And we talked earlier on, some mention about like you don't expect it from them. Was it Liam? You were talking about one of your goals where it's like this. It was like Daisa Maeda where you said it's something that you didn't expect. And Chris Sutton, everyone had this idea in their head about, you know, he's big guy, he's just physical, good with headers and stuff like that. Chris Sutton had a lot of good technique. A lot of people forgot that really quickly about him, forgot what he achieved in England. We've done a whole show about Chris Sutton on Bustalgia, talked about his goal record and so forth. He was a phenomenal striker. And yeah, it's just how he absolutely bodies Frank de Boer, who is at this point in time a Champions League winning defender, a La Liga winning defender. He is, he's got a hell of a lot of accolades to his name. Yeah, he has indeed.
100 caps he would have had by that point.
Right. And it's the Larson and Sutton link up again. As you said earlier on, Russell, it's that like he sets it up for himself. He starts the move. The little header onto Larson, and the two of them were like telepathic with each other. There's another goal that season that they scored against Lyon in the Champions League, which Sutton takes a throw in, Larson goes out left, and Sutton just runs straight from the throw in, and he just knows where the ball's going to be. Larson looks up, pings across in, and he's on there. It was just so telepathic between the two of them. I mean, Larson was good with anybody up front, but him and Sutton was special. There was just something different when they two were together. They could just close their eyes and play the game, and they know where each other would be. And that goal was again another great link up. And yeah, just to look up and ping that 90th minute, and effectively a dead rubber game. So he's won the league already, but we thought, no, we're still going to go and prove a point here and win every game against you, because when was the last time? We've not done it since. I can't remember. The last time we probably did it before that was probably in the 60s, you would think, maybe. The Jock Stein era.
The Rangers were very good in the 60s, so you never know.
So it's a long time we'll see that again. But yeah, what a way to cap off that season. John said earlier on, they were actually celebrating. They were happy with a 0-0 draw. I think Chris Sutton was just like, you're not getting your 0-0 draw today. You're not getting that.
You're better than that. You're better than that, Rangers.
Yeah, the technique was fantastic from Sutton. So he gets my number 2.
Dembele Panenka from outside the box. Talking about arrogance.
Aye. Before we go to the number 1, we'll do the good old classic, my top 10. A few honourable mentions of stuff that hasn't come up. So I've got a few written down that didn't appear at all. Just some that, again, made it into my sort of short list I had to whittle down. I thought for banter, maybe Mikael Lustig's goal in the 5-1.
Yeah, totally, mate.
Point. Fantastic. What a way to cap off that day of all the guys to score and the final goal of that game. And he absolutely loved it. Even, again, iconic commentary from the Rangers commentary this time. I believe Tom Commentator says, I trust he'll enjoy that one tonight in his pure, subdued, quiet voice, because he's like so broken at that point. I trust he'll enjoy that one tonight. Yes, he certainly will. He will enjoy it. Don't you worry about that one, Tom. That was a good one. Also from the same game, Lee Griffiths scored an absolute pile driver that day from the edge of the area. Phenomenal. Do you remember, though, in that game, obviously, the Suminovic challenge, and about 10 seconds after that, Lee Griffiths nearly scored an absolute wonder goal where he bent one right up in the corner and hit the crossbar. Right. See if that had gone in, that would have made my top 10. The fact that it would have started from that tackle.
That tackle. Kenny Miller does the cartwheel.
Not to worry, we'll take it to the SFA next week. That was another Tom Commentator line.
What was one? The one I had in my mind was when we won the league against them at home. Remember, it was only 5-0, and I always think that game was tinged with disappointment. It felt like we were going to go anymore.
Well, 5-0 after about an hour, were we not in that game as well? People fell off the gas.
James Forrest goal, and that's got to be in the reckoning. That was
a good one.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But see his joy. See when he was celebrating, he didn't actually know what to do. He just started lifting his knees really high when he was running, going. I was like, fair play. Look how hyper he is. Look
He's waited that long for him.
great
He's been with the club that long. I mean,
I like it. No, I like it. I like it. He's like trying to grab the jersey, can't get a hold of it. His weak knees are like coming up this high. I thought, oh, look at him. But that goal was fucking brilliant in that game. That Forest scored. Just takes on a couple and then woof right in the far corner. Brilliant goal.
Aye, the first time he ever scored against them, and that got us the police hat celebration because that's one.
Oh, the PC Lustig.
The police hat on. Oh, superb!
The other one I was thinking, if I may, would have been Henrik in the League Cup semi.
Oh, Bob Malcolm.
When he just Bob Malcolm, see you later, son. Don't hesitate with me. This is real football now. And then it's Kloss again, Champions League winning goalkeeper, the highest paid player in Europe at the time, and it's just here's a cushion volley 30 yards in the air, and watch it fall back down on my foot on the line. Just absolute brilliance.
I actually had another one in there as well. It was very close to mine as well, getting in the top 10. And it was actually Kyogo's in the League Cup final this year. Because I thought, in terms of a team goal, I don't really see us talk too many about team goals. But I think pretty much every player touches the ball in the build up to that goal.
That's
as much
true.
as
The first one.
as much as a tap in at the end. It's actually one of those well-worked goals. And I think if there was a sort of Mr. Postecoglou ranking his top 10 goals against Rangers, I think that wouldn't be very high up the list because every single player is involved in it and it's a bit of a masterclass in football. And as I say, in terms of actual goals we've discussed tonight, I can't really think of any that are along those sorts of lines. And it was unlucky. It was close to getting in the top 10, but it just missed out for me.
One that I had that would have been a bit of a outsider. Cause I mentioned him earlier on in terms of significant goals. Obviously, Alan Stubbs scored a very late header in the stop to 10 season. But remember the next season, the 1999 season, we drew at Ibrox. And he's a centre back, and he finishes that like a seasoned midfielder and just bends it into the corner, and you're just like, what a finish for Stubbsy! Absolutely phenomenal goal. And again,
any honourable mentions, Liam?
Was that
any honourable mentions?
No, I'm trying to think. No, I think I've got all mine out. I mean, that's it. I mean, the Stubbs goal. I mean, I've got my number one coming up. I'll wait till that.
No worries.
Fair enough. The other one I was going to say was Van Hooydonk's header. That to make it 3-3, and that was the day Andy Tolman scored early. We were 1-0 up. Then we were behind 3-2, and Van Hooydonk's header, absolutely iconic.
Oh, it was. Another one that felt a bit like in slow motion as well at times. Just one of the ones that just travels really slowly into the net. But another iconic goal. Now, number one time. So, do you want to know who's leading now, or just want to
do the charts? Yeah, do the charts.
Okay, so at the moment, in first place is Paul Lambert with 25 points. Second place is Scott Brown on 22 points. And on 21 points is Chris Sutton's Lob. I think there's a Swedish striker.
It looks like between Lambert and Brown. Actually, Lambert's done. Lambert's done.
Lambert can't get any more points. He is
Lambert's
finished.
on 34. He's done.
So it depends. If Brown gets some points here, he could win. Or if there's somebody that we've all got, the number one.
I'm not going to influence, unfortunately, who wins because it is Henrik. Mm-hmm. It is the king of kings. Mm-hmm. But it's his actual. It's for me. You were talking earlier, Liam, about when you knew this guy's world class. I think when he scores his 50th goal at Ibrox with that angle, I went, no, this guy is now the best. At that point in time, I would not, and I know this will sound like you can fucking clip it up all you want, I would not have replaced him for anyone in Europe at that point. I think no one's going to come in and make this impact. No one's coming, no, Raul at that point, they're not coming in and having this impact. Maybe only Ronaldo. The original. But I mean, Henrik at this point, again, is it his weaker foot? I mean, what is a weak foot? Left foot, that angle at Ibrox, 50 goals for the season. We'd already won the league then, but now we were going there, piling on the agony, putting on the style, and it was. I know Lubo scored 2 fantastic goals that day as well, but Henrik to score his 50th right in front of that, the Brimlone end, all the Celtic fans there, and he scores that with his left foot for the angle. It looks impossible. We saw Maloney's like, do I touch it? It's like, don't you dare touch that ball. Don't you dare, as if Henrik's missing. And Henrik finds that angle. He runs away with the tongue out, and you thought, holy shit, we're miles away here for them. Miles away. And this guy is playing a different sport for the rest of the country. And we're shit hot, by the way. You know, we're talking about, we've got a right good team, and yet you've got Larsson, who you're going, he's sticking out like a sore thumb, but amongst a team of ex-EPL players, internationals all over, and Henrik still is like, all right, the standards went up, is it? Watch me rise. 50th goal to score it at Ibrox. There's a reason, again, you look at one of my other choices earlier on, a Panenka against them. When's the next time I'm going to see a Celtic player score their 50th goal of the season at Ibrox? It's particularly in that style, that manner. And that, for me, is my number one.
Well, when you were mentioning it, I'm glad you brought that wee moment up, because how history can change, and just to drop it out, imagine if Sean Maloney had put that in at the back post, and how different it could have been.
But you can't blame Maloney for anticipating it. He's like, fucking impossible. That's impossible. No, it's no. No, it's no. Henrik makes it look easy. He's barely even looking at the goal. It's just, doing it in their patch. 50 goals, that's it. I just think it's an incredible individual achievement, but not just that. We'd won the league back, having been so far behind the year before. We've suddenly won it at a canter. They call it a dead rubber at the time, but then you get there and it's like, fucking hell, man. How good is this guy? And I actually agree with Liam's sentiment with the chip. When you think about it, Liam saying that's when I went, this guy's world class. Well, I think when he scored that 50th goal of the season, I went, how good a player are we talking about here? And that goal probably is what ensured I know he scored another 3, but that was probably the goal that sealed him becoming European Golden Boot winner as well.
Yeah,
to do all that at Ibrox.
It wouldn't have had the same effect if he scored.
He's a bottle of that right now, because that is how it feels to be Celtic. Just an incredible technique, an amazing afternoon, because bear in mind, the other league game there, we'd been hoofed 5-1.
We did. Quite strange.
Right, which
6-2 and 5-1.
Weird. 5-1 we were hoofed. Then to go there and win 3-0, Henrik to score his 50th. And just, again, I use that terminology, rubber stamp, signpost, his dominance in Scottish football at the time. That was it for me. And I just think that was a moment in time.
Oh, superb choice, mate. A bit outside the box. I like it, mate. And funny enough, it is the main picture I used on the thumbnail for this one. That's interesting that is the one that you picked. Liam, are you going to influence the winner here? What are you going to give us as your number one? Nope.
Unfortunately, this won't influence anything. Just like Russell and Jono went with the sentimental one with Julian, my number one's the sentimental one. So I'm going with George McCluskey, 1980 Scottish Cup final.
Yes.
Tell us why, Liam.
That's the only Celtic Rangers game I've been to live, and that was the day I became a real Celtic supporter. I went with my uncles, my ma's brothers, and it was a brilliant day. And I don't know, well, you guys weren't born. Some of you remember it was like warm. It was like 85 degrees. It was crazy, right? And how warm it was that day, and it was just brilliant. And I went and soaked up everything. We had to fight our way back to Castlemilk that night because they stopped all the buses running up there. So basically we just stopped at every pub in between. And you didn't have cell phones then. So all women at the house were going crazy because we weren't back yet. And it was all pictures on the telly about a riot and all that. And people had been caught up in it. And as you know, getting through Rutherglen to Castlemilk and all that. It's a bit of danger involved sometimes, right? And anyway, that was it. And that point, I've felt at that point, right? I never really had a team before, like really picked my team. And at that point, I walked away knowing that that was me. I was a Celtic supporter. That changed my life. That changed my pals. That changed the people. And just the opportunities I've had with people. Man, best game I ever went.
Love it. That's a great choice.
You're going to make me greet, mate. Oh, that's just... Oh.
Danny McGrain's scuff shot from the edge of the area. George McCluskey just sticks a leg out, and then the rest is history. That was it. It was the winner in the Hampden riots.
And then see my dad in Canada and break it to him that I'm a Celtic supporter, and I had to come out. I've got. He still loves me though. He still loves me.
That's a brilliant story, Liam. I absolutely love that one. That was brilliant. That's what it's about. That is what it's about, man.
Totally.
That's what it's about right there. I love that. It's a great shout, mate. Nice one. I actually that gives me the vibes, the feels. You know what I mean? That's quality, Liam, mate.
Right.
Brilliant.
That's why we.
That's a solid choice, man. I say that's what this was about. It doesn't need to all be top draw right in the top corner. If it means something to you or it has some significance, then by all means throw it in there. But yeah, the winning goal in the 1980 Scottish Cup final from George McCluskey, not the prettiest goal you'll see, but a very historic one nonetheless. Jonathan, are you going to influence the winner here at the moment?
I don't think so. Mine is going to be a Swedish striker, but I don't think it's going to influence the overall
John
result.
Guidetti. Mo Bangura. Oh, wait a minute. He's no Swedish, boysy.
I mean, there was 4 Henrik goals that I think we've all kind of discussed that I was kind of slithering with, and if, to be honest, I was very close to going with what Phil said with the volley. The volley's probably my favourite Larsson goal against Rangers. However, the significance of it isn't there because of the fact of how that season plays out, which is why the chip just gets in front of the volley for me. And as I said earlier, the chip is so important. As far as I'm concerned, it's the ushering in of a new era, which is what we are still living through to this day. As far as I'm concerned, that Martin O'Neill team and that specific game was the moment where you started to see the pendulum beginning to shift our way. And you know, since 2000, fair enough, we've had a few. we've had a few moments. Yes. The Claxon's back. But you know, we've had a few hiccups and we've lost a few league titles since then. But in terms of dominance, you know, from the 2001 season, Celtic have been pretty much at it every year since then. And obviously, I was quite blessed because I didn't have to go through the rigmarole of the 90s and have to go through all of that pain that a lot of other people did. But you look at it and you always kind of think, bloody hell, if you look back on it, and I quite like looking back on games and moments, you look at that and you think that is such a big moment in terms of not just the result as much as that was huge, because Celtic weren't smacking Rangers very often. These sort of results, that 6-2 game was a freak result as well at that time, albeit, you know, O'Neill coming up was giving a lot more optimism to the fans that he could, you know, turn things around. Nobody was expecting him to do something quite as big as that in his first game. And I think he just continued to build on it. And that is exactly why Celtic now, it's almost as if, you know, if we were to go to Ibrox and win, you know, 2-3-4-0 tomorrow, it probably wouldn't get the same respect that it would have done, like, you know, 10, 15, 20 years ago. And that's just all because O'Neill laid the foundations, and Larsson's goal is the iconic moment for me about where the Celtic team just completely turned around, and where Celtic as a club completely turned around. And that's why it gets my number one, as well as how good the goal obviously is, which we've already discussed. Aye.
That's a fair argument he's making, to be honest. It is fair.
I didn't want to pick the chip because I knew. Well, I actually thought somebody else would have picked the chip.
It's like, is Wonderwall a good song? Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, yeah, we've heard it a million times, though. Do you know what I mean? It's like, of course you've heard it a million times because it's brilliant, right? But just because you know it's generic to choose these sort of things, you know what I mean? But no, you're right. Everything you've said there.
Aye. For a shadow of doubt, and the one that I've got isn't going to influence the one on either. It's not going to influence anyway, because my number one is one that's been mentioned, obviously. Jonathan, you called it.
Yeah, Nakamura.
First season, I had my season ticket 07-08 season, so the way that season panned out, where so many games kept getting called off and whatnot, you know, pitches that were water, flooded with water and so on, and then you had Motherwell's cabbage patch and games getting put back constantly. Rangers asking for games to get put off against Gretna because they had a big important European game to play and it was only Gretna. So games were put on the back burner. Obviously that Celtic Rangers game was put back again and again and again. Eventually we played it on the 16th of April 2008 under the lights, which always makes it that wee bit more special, and a game that we had to win. We were I believe, 7 points behind, and they had 2 games in hand at that point in time, and we had to win the remaining 7 games and just hope for the best. And what a way to kickstart that sort of turnaround in the season. Nakamura's goal is just out of this world. Every time I watch it, I still marvel at it to this day. In the stadium live, I've said it many times on the show, it probably is my favourite goal that I've seen in person, and that was, 16-something years ago, going back quite a while now. But yeah, it's ridiculous. The view I had of it from where I was sat in the Lord Jockstein stand was absurd to see the bend on it. It's so quick as well, in person and even on TV. Catches Alan McGregor. 2 goalkeepers could have been in that net and they weren't saving that one. It was absolutely unbelievable. And the whole night was incredible. The winning goal by Venegar Esling could have been in there, even though it was just a header from 1 yard out, but it was again significance. It was one of the moments where I felt like in person things went in slow motion, because I can remember when Caldwell flighted the ball over and Scott McDonald headed it back across the goal. I was already grabbing my mate because I could see Venegar Esling was waiting on it dropping out the sky in front of an empty net. I'm literally grabbing him, celebrating, because I knew this is going in. But the Nakamura goal, because that first half as well was, we were so dominant in that game, because we went a whole year without beating them. Walter Smith had some sort of hoodoo over Gordon Stratton where we couldn't get a result against them. In that first half, we absolutely blew them away. They had nothing. At half-time, they subbed off Dashville and brought on Nacho Novo, who scored like a couple of minutes into the second half. And it looked like they were going to get away with it. Scott McDonald missed a penalty. Carlos Cuellar gets sent off. And we were going deep into stoppage time to go and score the winner. It was an amazing night, but that Nakamura goal is still unbelievable to this day. What technique, just out of this world. And also, I think it also came at a time when they were singing some rather unsavoury songs about Nakamura, and trying to score that goal and really, really stick it to them was just a fantastic moment. But now the question is, what does that do then to the top 5? How did the top 5 finish for us, guys? I've got the results here. So number 5 with 18 points, it was Nakamura's goal in 07-08.
Fair enough.
Number 5 was the chip by Henrik Larsson. Number 4, was the chip with 19 points. With 21 points, it was Chris Sutton's chip was ahead of Henrik Larsson's. There you go. So it came third in the end.
Doesn't happen very often. That on the rankings, I would say.
It does. Scott Brown was number 2 with 22 points, and the winner of tonight is Paul Lambert's goal from 97-98. To be fair, see the 5 that are in there, I felt they would be the top 5, but not in that order. I had a feeling I was going to pick
I think the Lambert one resonates. As I said to you at the very, very top of the show tonight, I watched the 90s goals, and for whatever reason they hold a more like we're acutely aware we're the dominant force now, right? And I just think the significance that Jonathan was talking about also at the top of the show, I'm sorry, but the 90s to stop the 10 when you're used to it being the other way. Those 90s goals that I watched today hit a wee bit different for me, and it was the underdog vibe. See, when you watch the latter goals, you watch a well-oiled, motoring Glasgow Celtic that are undeniably the dominant force in Scottish football and have the better players. In the 90s, it wasn't always the case. You were against a juggernaut of a Rangers side that it doesn't matter what means they were using. You're only watching the football with your eyes, and they had the tools that we didn't on the park. And there are a few exceptions, obviously, to that. And by 97-98, it was desperate times, desperate needs. And Paul Lambert's goal just, that sums it up for me. As I say, when I watched those 90s goals, they were the ones that really, they just, as I say, they hit a wee bit different. They were just, they were massive. And the Lambert one, obviously, because of its spectacularness, if that's a word, and the fact the New Year theory was proven correct. And I just think it's a fitting winner for me. Like, I get it.
Yeah, for a shadow of doubt. Again, significance, the technique of it, being a thunder bastard as well. Even pings off the framework of the goal on the way in just for extra bonus points is a phenomenal goal. And yeah, the significance of it, because in the 90s, stopping them for winning the 10 was so huge. So it was a pivotal moment. So you cannot deny it's definitely a worthy winner without a shadow of doubt. But yeah, that is top 10 goal, Derby Day goals, according to us guys with our lists. That's what we've come away with tonight. Hopefully it's got everyone in the mood for the big game tomorrow. So will we see a goal tomorrow of that ilk that we can add to one of these lists further down the line? Who knows? Hopefully Celtic can go there and I get.
I thought you'd set that up perfectly, Philby. I thought you were going to be like, oh, will Ange Postecoglou see Celtic win tomorrow? Yes, he can!
But before we go, we'll just do a quick round table. What do we think for tomorrow? How's it going to go? Russell?
Jota to score first because he is proving the man for the occasion, and a 2-0 win. It won't be spectacular. I say 2-0 because I think it will be two goals, probably in different halves. I think they'll be separate. I don't think it'll be a game where it's been one of those dominant 6-2s, 5-1s that we were talking about earlier. I think it'll be a 2-0 win where we've probably had the same amount of chances on goal each, but Jota to get the first goal. He will break the ice because in these situations, cream rises to the top. Whilst he might not make SPFL teams of the year, in this fixture, he's an empty cares guy. And what is it Liam said? What is it Liam said? I don't know.
I thought that's where you were going with that. He's like, he's still top of the table. I was like, where's he going?
What is it, Liam? What is it you said, Liam?
The sky, rebel till I die.
His fist will be in the sky, a rebel till he dies. 2-0 Jota first scorer. Liam, what do you think?
I think well too. I think that snub is going to motivate Jota to just come and rub it that wee bit more. I mean, he's scored every goal you can imagine in a header, a chip, a ridiculous ball where he pulls McGregor apart. And I think tomorrow you're going to see a Jota screamer. We're going to look at. I think there's going to be a thunder bastard, and our wee Portuguese winger is going to be the end of it. I think, but I think we've got to be clever tomorrow as well. I can see this being another shame game. I think that it's going to be toxic in there, especially if they go early. And so I just hope everybody's safe and all that as well. And I'm looking for Celtic scoring and hearing mad pockets at Tim's break out of disguises and coats and stuff like that to cheer goals. Or get them infiltrators among the support, clapping their hands in their pockets.
No.
Stay safe, everybody.
Yeah, they're brave people if they're doing that. There is a few rumours that some will, but wouldn't it be me? I would be chancing that one. But Jonathan, how do you see it going tomorrow then?
I think it'll be close. I think Rangers will score. I think Celtic will also score. I'm going to go for Celtic to find a way to win. I don't think it'll be a pretty game of football. I think Celtic will win 2-1. And if I was going to put myself out on a limb, I wouldn't be overly surprised if Celtic got a penalty tomorrow. You know that. Possibly, I think Celtic might get a penalty tomorrow at Ibrox. I think Aaron Moy might score a penalty.
I think I was predicting that recently in one of our many games against him. I was going, we'll get a penalty and Aaron Moy will score, and he had the worst game imaginable. He was horrific that day, the 3-2 win. Oh my god.
Oh yeah. I think the fact that there's a lot of narrative around the penalty talk at the moment with Rangers, I think there could end up being a penalty given in a game like this where it's not going to make a massive difference.
What is it? The first penalty that would be they've conceded in over 50 games in the league. But at Ibrox, it must be fucking a crazy amount of years.
I think I saw the same.
In fact, even you're talking about years tells you what you know. But when was the last time they gave away a league penalty?
It was the Aberdeen game last year. They called it Ibrox. Years, like you say, years. Pre-COVID, probably. And think about that.
That's bizarre, eh?
Yeah.
Celtic can't have had one there since what? Scott Brown scored that in the 3-2 game. Have we had one there since?
Scott Sinclair, 5-1.
Scott Sinclair scored on the 5-1. Scott Sinclair in the 5-1.
Miles Bierman chopped somebody down, didn't he? It was
the most brilliant penalty of all time.
That was 2017, though. Jeez.
6 years.
That's a long time. I'll go for a 2-0 win for Celtic as well. I think he will go to score again against them. He's obviously been a decent run against them this season. So, yeah, I'll give for Kyogo first goal. I think he'll...
Three of us think 2-0.
Yeah, 2-1 Jonathan, and the rest of us said 2-0.
2-0.
Aye, but ultimately a pretty non-eventful game, I'm thinking. I don't think there'll be much going on. I don't think it'll be one that will live long in the memory. But Celtic win, cap off the season perfectly to get another 1 in 96. God almighty.
There you go, 1 in 96.
That is
close to the 100.
I'd love to know the Ibrox. I'd love to know the Ibrox records when they last conceded a penalty. Ibrox.
So if they don't concede a penalty the rest of the season, they'll get to 100 then.
100 league games without. Jeez.
Yeah, if they get to the end of the season without conceding one.
And maybe the refs are going for these records. A bit like Henrik was going for 50 goals at Ibrox.
Maybe I try to get the record books for that one, but yeah, it's not a record that you want to be attached to. That one, that's just that's weird. I don't think any team in world football can be boasting that one neither. Ridiculous. But yeah, guys, that wraps up today's show. We've got everybody in the mood for the game tomorrow, and I guess there's only one thing that Ange Postecoglou needs to ask the players tomorrow pre-game. He needs to ask them all, guys, can you shake off Broadfoot? Yes, you can.
Well, you've all that stuff at the start. They won't be playing Tina Turner on the coach on the way home, will they?
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now. And you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan. He's a Rangers puppet. He's a cheerleader. That's what he is.